Yes, everybody, welcome into the Couch Potato Sports Show. It is me, Sonny Clark, the hardest working man in sports radio, as we are here on our Sunday morning tradition. That is the Couch Potato Sports Show, 14 years and running. That being said, I just want to give a shout out to Z. Z, do me a favor. I need you to put on some headphones. If you have some, I'd appreciate that because we get a little feedback when you don't have the headsets in, and it's always better. We'll try it when it's not wired. If you have some wired ones, that'd be great, but we'll try it without the wires. That being said, of course, that's the name of this show. Sunday mornings, normally during the NFL football season, we catch you at 9 a.m. We take you all the way up to kickoff, which is always great. A great 3 hours of stuff of what we do. And that being said, so in the off season, it varies. Today, 12 to 3. It's like kind of our normal slot. Sometimes we'll adjust it in case Cuervo can get in. Right now, Cuervo is moving still. Got a lot of stuff to do. He may or may not make it. He may make it at one because he thinks Tom McManus is coming in one, but no. We get a little early. We're going to bring him in here in the next few minutes when he shows up in the green room. That being said, let's go ahead and bring him on in. I'm calling him the sensation that is on a Sunday afternoon. It is Z. Good morning. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. How are you, Sonny?
I'm doing pretty good. I mean, I had a busy week this week, getting in Tom McManus, getting all set, working way too much, not getting enough sleep, but I got the sleep. I'm ready to rock and roll. And we had a lot of things that we did not cover last time we're on the show. But again, in about 7 minutes, we're going to be bringing on Tom McManus. He said he's going to be about 15, but a lot of things that we didn't get the opportunity to cover last week, and I didn't send you a lot, and I didn't even make the picture of what you sent to me, although it was a very good thing. It's because it's too busy. That's where I rolled down, and I was looking for sleep half the time. But that being said, I'm clocking into it because this is an interesting thing that's going on as far as the NFL, who's doing what, when, and why. But the big news this week is obviously Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts getting the big money, the biggest money ever, even bigger than Deshaun Watson. And when people talk about NFL salaries, they talk about things that are going on. They talk about earning their money, right? And that's always usually the big story in reality is earning your money. That being said, do you think Jalen Hurts has earned the biggest contract ever to be put in as a contract in the NFL?
I personally do not. I'm not saying I'm not a fan of Jalen Hurts at all.
Because you're not a Cowboys fan, so that's not coming from Cowboy hate, right?
Right, of course. I personally love Jalen Hurts. I think he's a good quarterback. It's just, here's the thing. You can have a great quarterback, but once everyone else leaves and he doesn't have a good receiver or a good running back, and that's going to go out the window. I mean,
they lost their running back. Then they lost their running back. Yeah. So
I heard rumors that they were going to end up getting Derrick Henry, but he's almost 30 and he's going to be wanting money. But how are you going to pay these guys this money if you just paid your quarterback the biggest contract in history? You're not going to have a lot of money. You're not going to be able to re-sign the guys like A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith whenever their contracts come up. Dallas Goedert, you still got, a bunch of different guys that you want to re-sign. And they obviously, every team's goal is to go to the Super Bowl. But going back-to-back, considering that they've lost a couple of guys, I don't know if it's going to be possible for the Philadelphia Eagles.
They're going to have to replace what they lost. You're absolutely right. The talk about Derrick Henry is a big talk, and they're trying to get him. I don't think that's going to happen. I actually think he's going to end up in Dallas. They're going to have to, a guy that spends a lot of money, he doesn't care where it goes, when it goes, why it goes, that being Jerry Jones. I think he's got his eye set up on a guy that is proven and a guy that can get through the line and a guy that can run guys over more so than get tackled. So seeing how that part works, that'll be interesting to see where Jerry Jones is in on that. Also, other places that we're talking about maybe grabbing up. The Minnesota Vikings are a football team that was looking for it based upon the fact that their guy, they don't know if they're going to keep him. So they got Derrick Henry in the back of their mind. And then there are a couple other football teams that are anybody's looking for a running back. I think the running back is a lost commodity as far as dominance, the way domination goes with Derrick Henry when you sign him. Am I on the right thinking? What do you think about Derrick Henry? I mean, is this guy a guy that can sign pretty much anywhere, or is he losing speed, or is he too much of an injury risk? What are you looking at?
Well, I mean, over the past couple of years, he's had his big plays. He's trucked over people, he's stiff-armed people. Yeah, it's cool, but I just think he's getting too old. Well, not too old, but NFL age, But running backs, they're usually one of the positions that retire the earliest, and that is because they are the first ones to get hit. Yep. There's not ever a time, maybe some rare occurrence, that a running back doesn't get tackled in a play. It's not your usual take it to the house in one play and not get touched. You're going to get hit. And yeah, Derrick Henry, he's this big body dude, but he's just not, I don't think he's going to be at that level. And considering he's getting injured a lot more, one injury is all it takes. You could have 10 other injuries and you could go out and be fine. One injury, it ruins your career.
Let me ask you a question, because just in the short time that we have had you here on the show, which was last week, and now we got you here, I develop a census, which I don't mind because I like your census, what you're looking at. You're looking at injury first on a lot of guys before you're giving the thumbs up on bringing a guy to your football team. To me, that is a guy that studies more so than has it. Who's hurt, when not, and everything. Derrick Henry just recently hurt, worried about him and worried about the money that he's going to take to the salary cap. That having been said, when you talk about Philadelphia and the big mega contract that was just signed, then you try to bring him in. You're right. I think as far as the money is concerned, that's why you'll see guys flying the coop, kind of throw out a little pun there. I mean, guys flying out of the Eagles' nest, they're going elsewhere. Just after pretty much a successful run in the Super Bowl, should have won the darn thing. In reality, if you watch the damn game, it's one of those things that Randy Galloway used to say. I stole it from him. Watch the damn games. And if you watch that game, they should have walked out of there with a victory in reality. So I see why they signed the big contract, but I don't know if the big contract was the right contract per se in reality. Based upon what are you going to do after you lose your guys? Yeah, I only think you get so much from coaching.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you can have the best coaches you want, but that doesn't mean, some players can be coached, but those are uncoachable. They're uncoachable, and they're just not going to get better. If they don't have that kind of work ethic, they're not going to be like a guy like A.J. Brown or Devonta Smith. And who knows? There could be changes in the Eagles roster to free up some salary cap space to keep those guys in Jalen Hurts' arsenal. But who's that going to be? Is it going to be, trying to think of who has a big contract? Well, I know one big contract that's going to come up relatively soon in a couple of years. Jordan Davis.
Absolutely.
Do you want that guy as your future D tackle? I mean, I'm not saying that in like a bad way. I
get it.
Yeah, I love Jordan Davis. Jordan Davis is a beast. If the Saints, coming from a Saints fan, if we gave away a first from this year, a first from next year, a first from the year after that to get Jordan Davis, I would say yes. It may seem like a lot, but
Got it. Hey, now guys, that we've got him on. We promised him. It is time to bring in my favorite guest of all time up on this show, my favorite Jacksonville Jaguar of all time. Yes, there are other guys that made the Jacksonville Jaguars, but there's only so many of them that made them hurt, when they got hit. And it was this guy, right? That's right, ladies and gentlemen. I'm bringing him on. The nuclear bomb. It's Tom McManus. Good to see my friend. How you doing?
What's up, Sonny? How you doing, man? Happy Sunday afternoon to you.
Hey, absolutely. And thanks for taking the time on this glorious set. I'm looking outside. He's in Florida, by the way, over in Jacksonville, enjoying the weather. He's in the shade, and he's got his shades on. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good. My eyes are good. But, just sitting outside. It's a little cool breeze today, but the sun's hot. So just a beautiful day here in Northeast Florida, man. It's awesome.
And by the way, I'm close to kicking off on the Relevant app, close to kicking off. Got a little peaks that are going on, so I'm about ready to hit into the Relevant app. So I will be calling you within the next 2 weeks because that's kind of what I'm going to do. So Look out for that. I'm loving the Relevant app. But that being said, last week I asked you on this show, you're busy. We kind of got you last moment, but news came up, and I wanted to talk a little Buda Baker with you as far as the Jacksonville Jaguars are concerned and his fit to that football team. You can talk about guys all day long and the talent and everything that they got going on, but more in fact, I look at Buda Baker. How does he fit with the Jacksonville Jaguars, and what does he bring to them?
Yeah, he's a phenomenal player, Sonny. I mean, that guy can do it all. He's strong against the run. He'll hit you. He can run. He can cover. He's good with the ball, et cetera, et cetera. Look, Rayshawn Jenkins, our strong safety, had probably his best year as a pro. I mean, he had a monster year last year for the Jaguars, not just leading the team in tackles. He didn't lead it. Aluakon did, but
absolutely
high up on the teams in tackles, made big plays. I tell you, that pick six to beat Dallas in overtime, I think that sparked the run that they went on to finish the year and through the playoffs until, of course, the Kansas City Chiefs. But Andre Cisco, man's a free safety. Look, at the end of the day, does he upgrade your roster, Baker? Of course he does. Is he a pressing need for this team? He's not. Although if you're going to ask me who I think the Jags should pick with the first pick, then it'll totally contradict what I'm saying, but I do have a reasoning behind it. But look, I think Baker's phenomenal. I don't know. I'm not jumping out of my way to get him on this team just because I feel really good about my safety position. I feel good about who I'm going to hopefully draft. And if it's not that guy, there's other defensive backs that'll be available. So I think they're going to invest in the draft. But again, if Doug Peterson got up in front of the press and said, "Hey, this guy upgrades our roster," everyone would be on board. So I'm just saying, I don't think it's a pressing need.
He's actually touched a lot of things that's turned to gold, that obviously being the head coach of this football team. We're here with Tom McManus, Jacksonville Jaguar. Take a look.
Look at that, man.
Look. And wait, unless I did it right. Right there.
Wow, dude.
That's
nice.
Right, baby. I went with my man.
Than anything I got. Come
on. Well, this is great. I love it. And I put the couch potato on it as well, so I could.
I love it.
It took me a long time to grab it up and finally find a place or someone that would make it. That was halfway. So this is not like official Jaguars, but it's Jaguar color, and that was good enough for me. And
honored.
It's absolutely. Oh, I lost my line. But that being said, now Jaguars within their division.
Yeah.
What's going on? And let's go to the draft. You kind of got an idea what's needed for the draft, and knowing how this division really could be a division that should be gotten again by the Jacksonville Jaguars when they weren't really, knocking on all of the cylinders. In reality, now they get the opportunity to go in and be ready for the first year and thinking they can make the playoffs because they just did it. What do you think their chances are? Because you're looking at three other teams that are
Well,
no
I'll tell
kind
you
of.
what. First of all, for the Jags, I mean, what Doug Peterson and Trent Baalke have done in 1 year is quite incredible. Think about this: 2 years prior to this year's draft, we're picking #1 overall. I mean, that's
Exactly.
awful. I mean, granted, we got
Yes.
Trevor Lawrence, which is phenomenal, and Trayvon Walker, but you don't pick #1 when you're good. You pick #1 when you're terrible. And now here we
Mm-hmm.
are at number 24, returning 21 of 22 starters and keeping the locker room intact for the most part. They lost a couple guys, of course, Jawan Taylor and Arden Key, but for the most part, the culture has changed in 1 year. I think it's absolutely phenomenal. Look, they've still got more work to do, right? Calvin Ridley's been added to the team. Looking forward to seeing what he's going to bring to that offense. Evan Ingram has not signed the tag yet, right? They're trying to work out a long-term deal. I think they will. He'll be a big focal point of this year's team. So for us, the Jags, yeah, they're on the rise. Now, I'm not look. Last year, last 10 games of the regular season, they were playing as good a football as just about anybody. Offensively, especially. Defense, like I said, it didn't really start to that Dallas game. The second half, if you go back and look, Dallas crushed us in the first half. Second half, we didn't shut them down, but we controlled them pretty darn good, and then made the big play at the end while our offense caught up. So I think that's when they really started playing some really, really good defense. Now, with that being said, AFC South, you look at it, maybe new quarterbacks for all of them. I mean, think about that. I don't know if it's going to happen, Houston being the caveat, but think about that. Each one of them could have a new quarterback going into 2023, and we know it's a copycat league. What did
Absolutely.
Jacksonville do? Trevor Lawrence, he's the man. I don't think you have Trevor Lawrence in this year's draft, but all you need is a franchise-type QB that can work your offense and get it done within your offense at a high level. So it's going to be exciting. So there's for the taking. Yeah, I don't want to say that. 1 year, you can't look. What do you give them after 1 year? You say that was a great year. Let's see you do it again. I think they'll be strong. I think they'll be right there. They'll be fighting for it. And I think Doug Peterson has done it, and Trent Baalke have done a tremendous job of building culture. They did their press conference last, I forget, maybe Thursday. All they talked about was culture fits. 127 guys on their board that fit their culture. Last I checked, there's 253 guys that got drafted. They have 127 draftable guys that fit what they're doing in Jacksonville. So pretty cool.
That being said, now Tom, you haven't been introduced to the 11-year-old sensation this way. This
Well,
is
so-
listen. This guy knows more about sports than me. He showed me up last week. In other words,
I'm putting my
but that's
shades
not very
back on.
hard. Yeah, that's not very hard. But that being said, I'm going to shoot it up here. He's got a couple things for Tom McManus here on the Couch Potato Sports Show. Go ahead, Z.
So I got one. I got my first question here. So you played multiple seasons in the NFL, and I wanted to ask, what was your favorite game that you ever played?
So my favorite game, and probably my best performance as a football player throughout my entire life, but especially as a pro, was when we went to Denver and beat them in the playoffs after the 1996 season. I received a game ball, Defensive Player of the Year by Coach Coffin. My good buddy Michael Cheever had to fill in at center for the injured David Wydell, got a game ball as well. A couple guys did also, but yeah, that was my favorite game. I just felt really good. And there were a couple plays I missed that would have been even better. But I had about, I think, 12 tackles, somewhere around there. I knocked a couple passes down. True story, Z. So I'm dropping back. Now, I couldn't jump for anything, right? But here comes a rocket from Elway over the middle. I jump up. I probably barely got off the ground. And the tip of the ball hit me in my middle finger, in my middle knuckle. And that sucker was swollen for 6 months. I kid you not. It was unbelievable. It must have been my dang finger back so bad. But yeah, that was my favorite game. And then on top of that, so we pull off the upset. Nobody expected us to do it. We fly home at 2:30 in the morning. There's 40,000 rabid Jacksonville fans in our stadium. We do a flyby at over like 1,000 feet. I kid you not. I was on the aisle. I was like looking over like, holy cow, there's a ton of people down there. Took a caravan down to the stadium. My mother and brother were there. It was the year after my father died. It was just a phenomenal, phenomenal day and night for me. And thanks for asking, man. It brought up a great memory. I appreciate it.
Now, I got one more question for you. Now, out of all your seasons in the NFL, what was your best statistical season? And what was the highlight of that?
Yeah, so 1996, I didn't have many because I got hurt twice. So I'm credited with 5 years, all with Jacksonville. But I got hurt in 97 in training camp. I tore my ACL, so I had to come back from that. That was the year after I had my best year ever, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that. And then in 99, I was the starting middle linebacker. I won the job in camp, and then I got hurt the last play of the second game in 1999, and it was a foot injury. I severed it. Well, I ripped it about 90%, a tendon underneath my ankle, and then I never played again. So that year we went 14-2, and then lost to the Titans, of course, in the playoffs to make it 14-3, or 15-3. But nonetheless, but my year as 1996. So I had to make the team every year. I was always on a 1-year contract. And I would, we just finished our first year. We were 4-12. Wasn't great. I always played so even in the first year, I'd play short yardage and goal line. So it was 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2. They think it's going to be a run. I would go in there and try to stop the run, or 4th down, something like that. First down on occasion, if they thought it was a heavy running team, I'd play that first time. I always ran down on punt, and I always ran down on kickoff. So, there was a lot of turnover after the first year. So I had to make the team again. I had to make it on special teams. Coughlin told me, he's like, look, you're not my starter, but if you're going to be on this team, you got to be really good on special teams. So I cut a little weight, got a little quicker, learned a couple things. There's a lot of technique to getting off the line of scrimmage and running down on kickoff and all that. And then fourth game, so I made the team, and I was still short yardage and goal line and that kind of stuff. And then fourth game of the year, Brian Schwartz, the starter, he gets hurt at halftime, right before halftime, tears his ACL. This is 96. And I end up being the start middle linebacker. So I ended up 3rd on tackles, 3rd in leading the tackles. I think I had 120, 119, something like that. I had a really good playoff run. My 3 playoff games, I was the Denver game was one of them. Played really well against Buffalo, pretty well against New England, that kind of thing. So, look, I think for me, it was just, before 95, I don't know if you know this, Z, but, I didn't make my first 2 tryouts. I got cut twice. And that was with the New Orleans Saints, who you're wearing. That was in 1993. I was an undrafted free agent. I didn't make that team. I sat out 93. Got a mini camp tryout with the Redskins in 94. Didn't make that. Was getting ready to just shut it down and get a job and start my real life or regular life.
This is a great story.
And I got a call from my linebacker coach from Boston College. I was in Boston at the time, gotten a job up there, and he asked me if I wanted to come down to Jacksonville and work out for Coach Coughlin. He wanted to see if maybe I'd be interested. They hadn't seen me in 2 years. I had 2 months to get in shape. I moved down to Florida. My parents had moved to Florida when I was at BC, and got in great shape, came up and worked out for him, and, ended up making the team. So, there's a lot of stories within that, which, are fun. Check out my book if you want to.
Great book. Great stories.
Yeah.
Working at this dude's serving up beer when he gets a call from the scout, and he thinks it's a joke. That's the great part of it.
It was out of the clear blue sky. I was like, what?
Yeah.
And it was my linebacker coach. So I knew him from BC. He was and then he was Coughlin's linebacker coach down in Jacksonville. So, he told me, he's flat out, he's like, look, we don't know. We know we're going to get the draft. We're going to get expansion guys, and we're going to get some free agents, that we're going to pay for. But other than that, we don't know who's going to be, you might have a chance. And I said yes immediately, by the way. So I was like, all right. So title of the book, in case you're wondering, We'll Always Be Pals. We will always be pals, but We'll always be pals. So
I'll let
check
you
it out.
borrow it.
Like.
I got it, Z. Next time I see you,
Beautiful.
I'll bring it. It's a great book. I love the book. Great stories in there. Not only that, and I wanted to talk, just to let you know, I started a new 9 to 5, and
Okay.
I went ahead and the people who train, they got motivational things, and I suggested them to get your motivation
Cool.
video,
Awesome.
which is one of my favorite things. And definitely within the realm of business, the tape never lies. It's one of my favorite, and I watch it at least monthly. Sometimes I need it every once in a while. Yeah, but it's one of my favorites. Do you do a lot of that anymore? Do you do a lot of motivational? I know you're doing a lot in production, which probably takes away from your time and able to do it.
Yeah, I still do some speaking. I love doing it. I mean, I do. I tell my dad's
you're great
story.
at it.
Well, thank you very much. My dad's story is a great one to tell with what he did for our country and whatnot. But see, I want to get back to your question so I can answer it for you. But 96, so I become the starter. We go all the way to the AFC Championship game. I told you my stats. That was, all that stuff. And for me, it was just the fact that I proved that I could be a starter in the NFL. And even when I was out, I never felt like I wasn't good enough. I knew I had to get better physically. I knew I had to get, I had to run better. I had to really focus on, getting in great shape and being just, I was always a hard worker, but just trying to get better. And I did hit some athletic, like my prime a little bit later. I grew about almost 3/4 of an inch after college. I put on 10 pounds naturally, and it felt really comfortable. I got faster, stronger, all that stuff. So I think that was for me, just the fact that, and it was a year after my father died. My dad and I were really close, and he played during the leather helmet era back in the 40s. He was a B-24 bomber pilot, World War II, prisoner of war, was shot down. He was captured, prisoner of war, went back and, back to Rutgers and all that. So we always had that bond. And he died in 95, the last day of the year. And he got to see me make it, which was awesome. But 96 was a very emotional year. Great year. And one that, I'll never forget. Thanks for asking.
Now, that being said, back to what's going on now. I contacted you about maybe talking to Mr. Brunell, Mark Brunell, former quarterback. But some recent news has kind of cut down access to certain people and everything up in Detroit. We have the situation in Jacksonville with Calvin Ridley coming back from the gambling side of it as well. So a combination here. I can't win for losing, but that's okay. We'll get Mark one of these days. But talk a little bit about the gambling thing and what. Because I know there's a lot of people that go, "What is the big deal? Why are we even worried about this too much? Especially if it can be quote unquote proven they weren't betting on their team." Blah, blah, blah. Talk a little bit about what your perception is of the gambling portion of it playing in the NFL.
Yeah, the guys that gambled on the games. I mean, they come on, like you haven't learned. You saw what happened to Calvin. I mean, he wasn't even playing in the game, and he put on. It was a parlay. It wasn't even like some kind of parlay that he put on him, and they suspended him for a year. I mean, that's out of your prime, man. Just for doing that. The guys that were gambling on non-NFL games, the rule is you can't do it from the NFL facility. I didn't know the rule because I was like, what? Who cares? Like, I can't call my bookie and be like, hey, man, put 50 on horse number 4. I hear he's going to win today. What the hell? I mean, all kidding aside, really, what's wrong with why? Okay. And especially now, you got the sports betting with the NFL. You know what I mean? Like, come on, man, lighten up Francis a little bit. But, if you're gambling on the games, there's no, you're done. That's ridiculous. You can't do that. We know that. But if you're gambling on non-football, non-NFL, especially NFL, who cares?
I don't get it.
I don't know. That's, they're going to have to relook, at that bylaw rule when they meet up again, because that seems that needs to be worked on a little bit, I think.
Well, one last question. I'll get you back to your family on a fine Sunday.
Listen, I'm solo this weekend. My girls are down at a dance competition in Orlando, so me and my shepherds are hanging out all weekend.
I've seen them in the background. They're looking pretty good. Yeah. So All right,
Yep.
so this week's the big news. Obviously, the big news is the draft. We know where we are in the draft. Who do you think that the Jaguars got their eye on, and who are they going to take? I mean, if you read, there's speculation about 5 different guys in reality. But knowing the team the way you know it, who do you think they're going to head out after?
You know, the guy that meets the value and the need, like immediately. I don't look. The crazy thing about this year's draft, it seems, I don't know if you guys feel the same. Like, you'll see guys top 10, and then you'll see them like 30, or even in the early second round. You're like, this is wild. You know, it's so all over the place. But look, I think if they could get Brian Branch out of Bama, now he's a safety / corner, if you will. He can play nickel. You know, Darius Williams is one of their big free agents from a year ago. You know, Tyson Campbell is a young stud. He can really play the game.
Right.
Worst case scenario, Branch, you know, and this goes, look, if he's not there, I've seen Emmanuel Forbes. You know, I've seen guys like that. If Joey Porter's there, I don't think he's going to be there. He's another guy. You see him like 10th, and then you see him 28th. You know, you're like, this is really, really way off. But and you never know what's the smoke screen either. I mean, you got to take it with a grain of salt. I think the dark horse, if you will, if there is one, I think if Quentin Johnson's there from TCU, I think they're going to have a tough time not giving. Now, they got Calvin, right? So he's a true number 1. But what they don't have is a big possession, and he can run too. So you got that added thing that you could add to him. The question then becomes, well, how many balls does Trevor have to be throwing around? I don't know. You know, look, I like Zay Jones. I think Zay Jones done a great job. But does he go from number 3 to number 4 if Quentin Johnson is added to the roster? I think he's kind of, and they brought him in for a visit, which I thought was really interesting. You know, the 30 visits they get. Quentin Johnson was one of the top 14 or 15. May not mean anything, but it was all like, you see the list. It was like all these rush offensive linemen, couple running backs, and then just one wide receiver named Quentin Johnson. So, you know, maybe Kaylee Ringo's there from Georgia, that corner. You know, look, if you grab a corner, what's the worst case? He's your number 3. You need 3 today. You need 3 today. So, you know, is Darnell right there? I doubt it. I think he would be a monster at right tackle. Osiris Torrance, if he's there, that'd be tough to pass him up, man. You put him at left guard, you're talking about adding some beef, tenacity, and athleticism to the O-line. So it's going to be exciting. I think there's going to be a lot of – Trent Baalke says there's 2 to 4 that they're looking for to be right there. I think they're going to have a nice selection. Miles Murphy from Clemson could be there, the stud D end. Maybe they – you know what I saw today? I don't know if you guys saw this. It was a mock maybe Walter Camp, maybe, or NFL.com, something like that. Chiefs trading up to 24 to grab Zay Flowers.
Oh,
and then dropping back to 31. That's interesting. And I tell you what, I saw projected like they get a 3rd round this year, a 4th round. I would probably do that. You know what I mean? If I were the Jags. So, and you saw where Zay, who's a Boston College alum like me, total stud. The only thing with Zay Flowers for me is he's 5'9", so he's not like a true number 1 X receiver. Not that he has to be. Obviously, he doesn't have to be in Andy Reid's offense. He could be all over the place, but I see him more, you know, off the line of scrimmage, in the slot, moving around, creating mismatches. He's really quick, really, you know, can go either direction. Like Christian Kirk with a little bit more speed, you know. Kirk's like that for the Jags. You get him one-on-one in the open field, he's going to get open. He's got that kind of juice.
Interestingly enough, you talk about Christian Kirk. Obviously, he's the one that set the wide receiver bar as far as monies are concerned and things of that sort with the trade. Might not have been the right thing for the Jaguars to do, but they were looking for something within Kirk that they felt that would fit the offense. Now, that being said, I think kind of, when I look at the Jaguars, they're, and I don't think they do this in reality because the tight end spot is really, you got Evan Ingram doing what he's doing, and then you got Luke Farrell, but then you've got some guys coming out like Kincaid out of Utah, and then Meyer out of Notre Dame. So is that a need for this Jaguars, at tight end, or to maybe make that kind of an investment on that guy, maybe within the realm of what you're talking about with that trade to get them maybe pick up something on the big side?
Well, look, Evan Ingram's going to be here for at least a year, and he's a total stud. And the way Doug sets him up and gets him open, it's like Christmas for that guy every Sunday. They get him one-on-one, get him doing cross. He's really fast. He runs, ridiculously well. Trevor's just got to place it in the right spot, which he did towards the end of, mid to end of the year. He got a lot better. Trev did. And so I don't think that's a pressing need. And it's a deep class, they say, that there should be somebody there in the third round or second round or what have you. So I don't know. Maybe that kid out of Darnell Washington's there. They picked 56. But now you've got 2 3, or no, you could have potentially 2 3s. Do you move up to get to that, that second rounder that you covet? Remember last year they moved into the bottom half of the first round and grabbed Devin Lloyd,
which was I love that. I love that move. That was a move that showed that they're interested in winning. That's what, let's be honest. The Jaguars always had the first round draft picks and everything, so they always go for the winning. But now, based upon where they are and how slowly they're getting better, I saw that as a good pick for them as being a solid football team that you're not going to walk on us like the history has been with the Jacksonville Jaguars.
No, they definitely, They showed a lot of that. They got a lot of grit, and they're going to find a guy that matches that. It's going to be interesting, man. To be able to return 21 out of 22 starters and not feel like you got to do another overload after 1 year. I mean, I was 95 to 96, and even 96 to 97. There was turnover. It wasn't like, after that there wasn't. We just added to it, right? There was a couple guys gone here and there. Maybe they left free agency or whatever. But, we were loaded, and they're loaded in their minds. They're loaded. And I think, guys, I think people need to realize too, like, it's all about, you said it, fit the offense. It's all you go up to like New York with Daniel Jones. Everyone went crazy with that contract, and you're like, wait a minute. Brian Daboll's sitting there going, no, he's my guy. I like him in my offense. He showed that he can run this offense. He's only going to get better. They didn't pay him like they're paying the other top quarterbacks, nor should they. He's not at their level. They still paid him a nice thing, but
what was it, 142, right? Wasn't it? Was it 142 they got him?
I think he got 82 in guaranteed money, which is how I always look at it. The other guys are 150, 200, which is that's well proportioned. That's where he is. No knock on him. He's that guy. I think he got 2 for 84, maybe something like that. We have to look that up. But anyway, my point is, it's what fits your offense, and how can I add people to my offense? I believe this. I swear. Now, not that they didn't set it up as much, like didn't set it up at all back in the heyday, but I think Jimmy Smith era, it was Jimmy, just line up and beat this guy. Here's your route. One-on-one.
You weren't beating Jimmy Smith.
Beat him. Jim, that's all I want you to do. It wasn't, hey, we're gonna, set up this little, rub. Which is, it's so funny. They don't call it blocking half the time. Most receivers, they pull up at the end. They look like they're blocking, but they set them up more. There's not a whole lot of just beat the guy in front of you one-on-one. And I think that, it is what it is. It's okay if you're efficient at it. And our offense got real efficient at it, last year in that run that they put together. So I think that's what offenses are looking for. What fits my offense? How do I want to run my offense? How am I get guys in positions to succeed? And what's the personnel that I need to fill those positions? I think it's awesome.
Now, that being said, Daniel Jones, $82 million fully guaranteed with the $36 million signing bonus up on top of that. Yeah, he did pretty well. And interestingly enough, when you said that, this guy never really reached a peak to what we seen last year until Dable walked in the door, which is exactly what he did with the young cat over in Buffalo. So you got that going. You got that going for you, and you see what's going on as far as that team within that division of football where every team seems to be getting better. I remember when we used to call the NFC East the NFC least. Well, now there's some powerhouses working. You got Philadelphia getting better. You got, and I hate it, makes me puke in my mouth. I'm sorry. The Dallas Cowboys getting better as well. And then you got the Giants. I mean, so you got a 1, 2, 3 plus. It's going to be one of the better divisions in football. That having been said, is there a better division? And what do you think is the best division in football today? Because we got some good ones. Because I was looking at the AFC West, I'm going, wow, what happens if that starts to take off? We got the NFC East had 3 teams in the playoffs last year. So interestingly enough,
I would give them the nod right now. I think going into last year, you'd say the AFC West, but you thought Russell Wilson was going to be way more effective with Denver. Now that they have Sean Payton, right now we can see. And I love Payton. What did he do right away? Hey, Russell, get all your guys out of here. Yeah, beat it.
Got some bad love for the guy.
They're my personal coaches, coach. I don't give a shit. Get them out of here.
Get them out. Reminding me of the day when LeBron James is like, "What? You got your pot? No.
Get out of here." I like that. And I think he's gonna turn Russell back into the old Russell Wilson. Sean Payton's got a very good mind, offensive mind. So, if that does happen, and I'm saying this I think Jimmy G to Oakland's or Las Vegas is going to be awesome. I really do.
That's going to be great.
I think Jimmy's one of the top quarterbacks that. Maybe not flashy wise, but man, if you want a guy that you can feel, solid with, you know what I mean? Like he's not going to cost you too many games. He may not be able to carry your offense on his back, but you put him in the right play call. He'll make all the throws. He'll get it done. He's a tough dude. I think he's going to be really good for them. And if, Herbert's got to take the next step, he kind of waffled a little bit. Granted,
we talked about that.
They had injuries, but he's still come on, that he's got all the tools too. He should be really good for years to come.
And I don't know what it is about Jimmy G, but the guy gets it's no respect. I don't understand it. The guy wins 73% of his games, and the guy can't get respect. It's unbelievable. And all they have to do is bear down on him. We don't know if he can throw the deep ball. Well, hold on. This guy played for the goat of all goats up in New England. If he couldn't throw the deep ball, he wasn't going to stay in New England. Right. So we know he can throw the deep ball. It makes no sense to me.
No doubt.
It's no doubt. Yeah. So, what do you think about what do you think about the Detroit?
Can Zeke? I don't know. Let's see. I want to hear another question from Zeke. Can we get Zeke?
Yes, and he said he didn't have another one. Zeke,
come on, you're wearing a Saints. What do you got, man? What do you think about Derek Carr to the Saints, man? How you feeling?
Me and Sonny, talked about this last week, and I'm going to change my opinion just a tad. Not in a bad way. Not in a bad way at all.
Okay.
Like I said, I think Derek Carr is the guy. I think Derek Carr is a proven winner with a good head coach. You know who currently doesn't have a good head coach? The New Orleans Saints. Dennis Allen is not the guy. I'm sorry. He's not the guy. After what we saw this year, he's not going to be the guy. We need a new head coach. It hurts to see, Sean Payton in Denver.
But Z, you got the OC came back. The OC came back. Pete
Warner.
No. Who's the his dad was my coach at Boston College. Pete Carmichael Jr. He came back as an OC. He's a good offense coordinator. Look, I like Derek Carr. I do. But Derek Carr to me is Tony Romo. A lot of yards, He'll go to Pro Bowls every year. He's got all the tools. I know, but he's not clutch. He's been clutch on occasion, but never consistently clutch. So I don't know. I think you got to set him up nice, and hopefully they do. I'm not bagging on Derek because I think again, he'll give you stats all day long, But at the end of the day, you got to win championships.
Yes,
as a quarterback.
Yes.
So we'll see. Maybe a new, I don't. Hey, look, I don't know if Josh McDaniel's the guy in Vegas. I don't know. He's a great coordinator, but as a head coach, I think that remains to be seen. No,
how long are they going to give him in LA or in Vegas? How long do you think they'll give him with now, since they got the quote unquote solidified quarterback now? How long do you think he gets, especially since it's his buddy, Jimmy G and all? So
I think I think he's got to prove something this year. Now, he doesn't have to go to the Super Bowl or anything, but he's got to show that they're on the right path. Look, if they may be a surprise drafter of a QB this Thursday night. I mean, there's rumors that they're looking at one of the guys, that Anthony Richardson 2-year project. I see him to Seattle. I tell you, that 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, that's gonna be fun.
Man.
I mean, it's gonna be
a lot of fun. Oh yeah, you're gonna be sitting there with a beer in each hand, going, "Come on, what are you doing here?"
Give me a second.
But yeah,
you know what I mean?
But
so
yeah,
I don't know. It'll be fun. But yeah, if I think, look, I'd say 2 years, but I wouldn't. I'd say, look, man, I need to see something out of you this year. You got Jimmy G. You got ready. You moved on from Carr. Maybe Josh, was part of that. Maybe Josh is like, I don't know. We could find better.
I think that's what it was.
Who knows?
I think that's what it was when he gave notice that you were not going to be for the last 2 games. That stirred up a lot of stuff when they said last 2 games, no Derek Carr, you're gone. And the Derek Carr fans are going, "What are you talking about?" And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, well, he's not going to be on the team, so what's the difference?
Yeah,
kind of things, rubbing the people the wrong way. I mean, so that being said, when you rub the people the wrong way, how that will depend on how long you stay. As a player, I don't think you got as much time as you do as a coach in reality if you rub someone the wrong way. And that being said, a guy that never seemed to rub anybody the wrong way, Tony Baselli. I want to talk just a moment about him because you know him.
Yeah.
He's a personal friend of yours.
Oh, yeah.
Hall of Famer, first Jacksonville Jaguar in the Hall of Fame. We talked about it, but talking about that, did you think it took too long for Baselli to get there, or was this about the right time for him to get in compared to some that went in? Me personally, I saw about 3 years earlier, but everybody's talking about who came out. You're like, oh God, you got to take Baselli. He's out.
Yeah, and Tony's a great dude. He's a great guy, man. He's doing great. I just had him on my Horse's Mouth show not too long ago. We were filming from the USS Orlick, which is now going to be a museum in downtown Jacksonville. The thing had 11,000 missions. So cool. But anyway, no, he should have gotten in a lot earlier. I mean, look, and I'm going to stump for Freddie T, and I'm going to stump for Jimmy Smith, and I'll tell you why. But let's start with Tony. So in Tony's era, he played in an era of Jonathan Ogden, Orlando Pace, Walter Jones, and Willie Roaf, who was awesome with the New Orleans Saints. All 4 of those guys, they all played the same. Now, they all played a lot longer than Tony, or longer than Tony. I don't know if a lot's the correct word for all of them. Tony got 7 years in, right? And then he couldn't play. The injuries caught up to him. But those 4 guys were all in the Hall for some time.
Yep.
And I always sat there, I'm like, he's as good, no disrespect to any of them, because they were all great, but he's as good, if not better, than all of them. And that's all that needed to be said, in my opinion.
I agree.
I know his presenter, Sammy Kavaris, a good friend of mine. He does a phenomenal job, but for whatever reason, the voters weren't having it. I don't know why. Let me go on to Freddie Taylor, my other teammate. I'm going to give you a stat, guys. There's 2 players in the entire history of the National Football League that carried the ball over 2,500 100 times at the minimum with a 4.6 yards per carry average for their career. Only two of them. Guess who it is?
One has to be Emmitt Smith.
No, but close.
No, it's the Walter Payton then.
No, it's Barry Sanders.
Oh, really?
And Fred Taylor. Go
Wow.
look it up. Yep, only two in the history. You need more than that. If Freddie doesn't get hurt, he may break the record. And by the way, if Barry doesn't walk away in his prime, he crushes the record for the record.
Without question.
I mean, he was ridiculous.
He would have crushed the record without the offensive lineman that the Emmitt Smith had, who, no offense, he got lucky. I mean, he got the best offensive line in the NFL when he played. So, you got great. That. Look at what he was doing in Detroit. I mean, without the offensive line. Just amazing watching that guy play. By the way, I always wondered.
If I may, can I? Go ahead. You go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, and then Jimmy Smith, he's like 1,000-yard seasons. He's like one of 3 guys in the history of the game to do it. 9. Yep. 100. I mean, I don't know. I think they both should be, and I'm biased.
You got a lot of nitpickers about. Well, you got a lot of nitpickers about bad history, and guess what? That guy has turned his life completely around. I've only seen it, and but Tom, that's the reason why they're not putting him in. You know that.
And listen, it's not the Walter Camp Man of the Year Hall of Fame.
I agree. I agree with you 100%.
Are you kidding me? You got guys in there that did a lot worse.
I agree. Now with football being the way it is, and guys like you retired and everything, and I asked you this years ago, when we first how come you didn't make your way into the indoor game itself as either a coach or anything else like that? Or I mean, I would think that the Jacksonville Sharks would love to have former Jacksonville Jaguars as a color man on indoor football. So I as a lover of the indoor game, how come you didn't go that route?
You mean after my career was over?
Yeah, whether playing and or coaching.
Well, I tried the year after I hurt my foot. I visited 3 teams as a free agent: Seattle, St. Louis, and Baltimore. Del Rio actually worked me out in Baltimore. And my foot was healed, but none of them signed me. So I went into 2000 then my agent talked me into getting into the XFL draft, which I was drafted by the LA team. Yeah, and I went out there for 2 days in one practice, and I'm like, nah, I'm going home.
Just can't do
it. I just wasn't there mentally, emotionally. I just wasn't there. So I hung it up. I didn't get into coaching because I didn't want to miss being around my kids when they were young. I mean, that's and there's nothing. Look, man, there are plenty of coaches out there that have wonderful families, strong, tight-knit. I'm not saying that you can't do it. I mean, my wife was really young when we married, only 22. We got pregnant pretty early. I wasn't going to, asking her to move everywhere every year. It just wasn't for me. I got friends that did it. Brant Boyer's a good friend of mine. He's still coaching. He's up with the Jets, still doing great. But that just, I saw, one thing about, hey, Grady, one thing I saw, Coughlin, they grinded, man. I mean, those assistant coaches were miserable. I mean, just absolutely miserable. And I was like, nah, I'm not doing it. I want to go home. I did some broadcasting here and there. I did. It's funny. I went up to Chicago and an agent, and he just said, Tom, obviously you can do it. He's like, you're just not a really big name, and so I did, I do local stuff. It's fun. I've done a color for the Sharks one game. It's fun, but that,
did you like that? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah. Oh, I love the game. Absolutely. It's quick hitting. A lot of exciting stuff. It's high energy, so I'm down with it. But I don't know. I'm really happy with what I'm doing, with everything that I'm doing. I got a lot that I do, so it's good.
Sharks need to put up a little money too. I know about the business, so they need to put up a little money to get a good guy like you up on the side.
I don't even know who does it, so I have no idea who does it. So.
Yeah, I don't.
Anyway.
Well, I watch it. I normally watch it with the volume down because, like last night, I watched the Frisco Fighters in indoor football. Z was at the game. I was left at home, but it was what it was. So, but my man, I always appreciate your time.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for the extension. I mean, it's good when the family's out. Tommy can come play. We got him, so this is good
for a little bit. Yeah. I got to get the house back in order, and I'll me and the boys
single man when no one's around. I know it.
We had some downtime, if you will. So, but no, we're good. We're good. And then I'll have a nice dinner prepared for him. I got steak and shrimp on the menu.
What a guy! When's your next singing gig?
Friday. Next Friday, we're at a place called Whiskey Jack's in Atlantic Beach. The Dad Bods take the stage at 7.
The Dad Bods. What a great name!
Isn't that a great name? Yeah, and
name.
A Z instead of the S. So it can be cool.
With a Z.
Dad Bods, and we'll be rocking.
The horses.
Got some new tunes.
Who's up coming in the horse's mouth?
So we got. I normally don't find out till the day I'm there, but we're starting to do some virtual. So that's going to be the new thing where we can bring in guys virtually. So
that's a great idea, right up on that screen you got there on that wall.
Yeah, exactly. So that's man, that's a lot of fun. I get to meet so many cool people doing really cool stuff in Jacksonville, whether they're entrepreneurs or executives or doing some charity 501c3 or they're veterans or their veteran organization. It's so cool. Jacksonville's a great city. I'm happy to be able to meet all these great people and what they're doing.
We're going to be sending you some messages about the Relevant app and some of the things I need to do. So keep your ears open on that.
I'm going to send you a note on all that, Sonny. So stay tuned for that.
Oh, great. To get started and how to do a good production for the Relevant app. I mean, we already know how to do it here, but the Relevant app's a little bit different and more so. And I have been told by a birdie I need to, cut my show up so people can listen in 30-minute increments. So the little birdie's probably right. We do 3 hours and not too many people sit and listen to 3 hours. So it is what it is. But our Sunday morning thing that we do from 9 to noon, we take it off the kickoff. If you ever just want to come and give us a hard time on a Sunday morning, you're always welcome, my friend.
All right. I appreciate that. Fellas. Y'all have a great afternoon.
You too. Enjoy the day, and I'm digging the shades. He's Tom McManus, former Jacksonville Jaguar linebacker.
I love it.
There, baby. Yeah.
I love it.
Thanks for joining us. We always appreciate your time.
Yeah, man. Thank you, guys. Nice to meet you, Z.
Yes, sir. Nice to meet you, too.
All right, dude. Be good.
He is Tom McManus. Oh, boy. I just don't want to take up all this time. I could steal him for 5 hours and not do anything over and over. So that is good. Tom McManus, a friend of the program, always comes on. Man, there's something about him, Z. There's just something about that guy knows football. He knows the ins and outs. The X's and O's, all that stuff. It's so good, and people don't realize that guy just gave me 45 minutes of his time. And guy's a busy dude. We just got lucky. His family's out of time, or we would have only got about 20 minutes. So we got lucky with the family out there. So that being said, what we're going to do, Z, is we're going to take a quick break. I need some more coffee. Then I need to hit the head, and then we can get back to it. We'll talk about a lot of the things we didn't talk about last week and go from there. That also being said, some interesting news coming up, and I'm going to throw you a curveball. I'm not even going to tell you what it's about, and I'm going to let you give me your opinion on what you think about it as far as that is concerned. So, geez, look at that. Everybody joining in. So we're going to do that. We're going to take the quick break here on the Couch Potato Sports Show. When we come back, it's going to be football, and, well, maybe a little bit more football here on the Couch Potato Sports Show. And that being said, we'll be right back. At Wesson General Contracting Incorporated, we're your one-stop shop for all your general contracting needs. We are locally owned and with over 20 years of experience, so roofing, gutters, sidings, fence staining, painting, foundation problems, or roof damage are no problems at all. Give us a call at 214-200-5588. That's 214-200-5588. Wesson General Contractors. The prospect of retirement can be exciting and scary at the same time. At Nest Egg Wealth Advisors, we have found many people either approaching or currently in retirement fail to truly maximize some of the benefits offered to them, primarily Social Security. What is it? How does it work? It's simply not a benefit that you start receiving at age 62. Because these decisions are so important, my firm has assembled an informational packet on Social Security. If you would like a complimentary copy of Social Security Maximization, please give our office a call today at 972-412-6064 or visit us on the web at nesteggadvice.com. At the Jerry Bullet Training Center, we are a motivated team of coaches with the mindset of helping you achieve and reach your highest goals. Having developed and trained over 100 Division I athletes as well as Division II athletes, even professional athletes, the Bullet team definitely has the knowledge and mindset to take you to the next level. Check out our new 22,000 square foot facility and 3,000 square foot weight room, along with 4,500 square feet of outdoor turf and covered training area, along with football and soccer fields. Contact Melvin Bullitt at 214-326-7853 or visit their facility just outside of Waterview at 8900 Princeton Road in Rowlett.
Being taken for a ride? Check out Casso Insurance, serving Texans since 1981. Bundle your home, auto, or business insurance and save a ton. Casso Insurance on the corner of Main Street and Rowlett Road, where we make insurance fun. Or check us out on the web at CassoInsurance.com, where we always have the coffee pot on. Yeah, but is it fresh?
There is nothing that beats good home-cooked barbecue. Since 1941, Dickey's Barbecue has done all the cooking and you take all the credit. Come see us today at our Rowlett location, 5701 President George Bush Turnpike, Suite 110 in the Target Shopping Center. Whether you want to eat in or take it home, we will fix you up. For lip-smacking, rib-tickling, knee-slapping, foot-stomping, great-tasting barbecue, come see us at Dickey's Barbecue today.
Here at Fit Body Boot Camp, located in Saxe, the solution is here. Fast, long-lasting weight loss results and the healthy lifestyle you need to keep them. The key to your fat loss success is our signature afterburn workouts, as well as support and motivation from our world-class coaches, and an easy-to-follow nutrition program to help you keep the fat off. Visit your local Fit Body Boot Camp in Saxe today to see the difference for yourself, or give us a call at 214-463-3005. That's 214-463-3005. Fit Body Boot Camp, Saxe. Saxe Ice House is a non-smoking craft beer and beer pub located in the heart of Saxe. The Ice House was opened to provide a friendly, clean, and female-friendly environment. Saxe was lacking a place for service industry, date nights, and girls' nights, as well as happy hours. Excellent service and top-notch food are our priority. On Tuesday, we offer 79-cent wings, as well as half-price burgers on Mondays. So check us out at the Ice House, located at 6501 Highway 78 in Saxe, or give us a call at 469-304-1550, or check us out on the web at SaxeIcehouse.com. Go Mustangs! Ever want to know why Bill and I look so great on our broadcast? Check out K West Designs on Facebook to find out why. Check out all the samples that Kelly has up so you can see, especially if you have a special occasion that needs something original or design or something that says, this is our moment. Check out K West Designs on Facebook or give Kelly a call at 469-601-5856. That's 469-601-5856. K West Designs. Rich's Performance Muffler and Auto Care has provided complete auto repair services to the Wiley area since 2003. Whether it's alignments, brakes, air conditioning, muffler service, suspension, front-end auto services, or in my case, a Cadillac converter, Rich does it all. Stop by and see him at 603 Commerce Street, Suite 203 in Wiley, or give him a call at 972-461-0776. That's 972-461-0776. You'll be happy you called Rich instead of anybody else. All right, and welcome back into the Couch Potato Sports Show. It is me, Sonny Clark, the hardest working man in sports radio, as we're here on our Sunday traditional, along with Z. How you doing? Hey, 45 minutes, former NFL football player. You got some knowledge in that first hour, I'm telling you right now. Good stuff from Tom McManus. What do you think about that? What do you think about that guy?
Great dude. That's one thing I gotta say. He knows his stuff. That's
Man.
you can't disagree that he doesn't know his stuff, because man, I was trying
Book of
to ask,
knowledge.
yeah, I was asking basic questions, and he went from the answers should have been from here all the way past up the camera. His football knowledge is.
The first time I met him, he told me the story. He kind of went a little, it just got to the surface of the story about him getting back there. And I know the story because, first of all, I talked about him, and then second of all, I've read his book. And so you got to really understand this. When they called him up, he was not in shape. He was a bar guy. He was serving beers. That's all he was doing. He wasn't doing anything big when he got the call to get down to Jacksonville to try out for the team and everything. So he had to go out in crunch time to get in shape. It's an amazing story. The archives are way, way, way back, because we started with him on my show 13 years, about the same amount of time that I did with Cuervo. I actually marked that 12 years. He came in about a year after I grabbed up Cuervo, and he's been with us ever since. Plus, he is my favorite player. I mean, gee, right? You know, it don't get much better than that. So, yeah. But that being said, last week we got off on a tangent, because that's just what we do here. We got a lot of things that we want to talk about. So I want to just kind of, talk a little bit about some of the things that we missed. So let's do this. Let's just back it. So we're going to back it up, and we're going to talk some things that we missed last week. And one of the biggest things, I mean, the NFL, we know the NFL means for not for long. That's the NFL and the way that it works. So I'm going to throw this up. And I don't know if I even sent this to you, Z, or not, but Cam Newton last week, I mean, this was last Thursday, came out with this, and CBS Sports picked it up. I steal pictures, so but it really is kind of interesting if you take a look at what Cam Newton says he's willing to be a backup to these quarterbacks. Now, when you look at the quarterbacks and everything that he's on there, I'm very interested in what you think, because when I look at Cam Newton, this guy would be lucky to be on a football team, never mind pick and choose where he wants to go. So he says all the time, I'm not number 32, meaning the best. He's not, or he's no lower than 32. He thinks he could be a starting quarterback in the NFL. So Z, when you look at Cam Newton, you see what he's talking about. And he even says right here, guys that he would be willing to be a backup for. Do you see him as a starter anywhere, or is this guy just that backup guy that you expect from Cam Newton? And how much do you know about Cam?
Well, of course, I mean, I got to know a lot about Cam Newton. He low-key terrorized my Saints for quite a while. Not, but I still respect the guy. He's a great quarterback. Well, he was a great quarterback. Now, no disrespect to Cam. I love the guy. He's a great, he's still in shape. That's the thing. Whenever you get kicked to the side of the road, you don't expect a guy to still be in decent, if not great shape. Starting wise, it depends. A lot of teams now have there's basically about half the teams with younger-ish quarterbacks, I'd say under the age of 28. And then you got the other half with quarterbacks over the age of 29 to, how, the oldest quarterback. There's no in between there, which would put Cam Newton older-wise. And that's the thing. A lot of teams, he might have experience, but by the last couple games he had, it wasn't good. Now, is that because, the scheme changed? I don't think so. I really don't. He just might have lost it. That's what I gotta say. He might have lost it. But starting, here are the only teams I could see. So let's say Matthew Stafford doesn't work out. I could see him going to the Rams. Maybe.
Is that part of his team? Is that
no?
That's not part of his list. It doesn't look like that's part of his list there, as far as that's concerned.
But I mean,
I agree. But Zia, let me tell you something. I agree with that, and I'm going to give you the reason why. Okay, when you have a Matthew Stafford, you have a guy that's a veteran and knows the game. As much as I'm not a big fan of Cam Newton, the guy knows the game. And so when you lose a Matthew Stafford, the guy that took you to the Super Bowl, you need to have something behind him. Obviously, last year after Stafford got hurt, they didn't have the right personnel whatsoever. We only seen that in action. I do wonder sometimes if he was the backup as far as the Rams were concerned, what could they have done throughout the season based upon the injury, how long Stafford was out, and what he might have been able to do. So I see that but that's not part of his picks. But really, when you're a backup, it's pretty sad, because if you're a guy that is really, a competitive dude, you hope for failure on the starting quarterback side. In reality, that's just what it is. That's what came. And now they're not going to say, "Man, I hope he gets hurt so I can play." They're not going to do that. They're not going to say that, and I get it and I understand. But that having been said, that's what has to happen for Cam Newton to come and play, and even for the teams that he wants to play for, whether it's Deshaun Watson in Cleveland, Lamar Jackson in Baltimore. That's the fit, by the way, just to kind of, but they just signed their backup, so that's probably not going to happen for Cam. Justin Fields up in Chicago. I hope Cuervo's listening. He'll put a comment about Cam as the backup in Chicago with a Justin Fields based upon that offense that they play. So kind of in there. So lots of places where the quarterbacks are really kind of one of those, except Aaron Rodgers is the atypical pocket quarterback. He ain't running unless he absolutely has to, and then he sometimes just takes the sack. So that being said, some of these teams, when I see these, obviously you got, Chicago, Miami with Tua, maybe, I don't know. See, but here's the thing, and I don't know, and I'll get your opinion. If he takes a backup role to a Tua, to a Lamar Jackson, to a CJ Stroud, whenever whenever that happens, or to Anthony Richardson, when that Jalen Hurts, will they listen to him? Does he deserve to be listened to? In other words, I guess the question is that do today's player have any for Cam Newton? Do they think they have any respect for Cam Newton? And would they listen to him? You're a younger guy, so I'll ask you, coming up in the young, but let me just preface this as you're the most respectful kid I've ever met. So that alone is the reason why you're on my show. Never mind, you're smarter than me, which makes me mad too. But that, where do you see the respect factor for Cam Newton from some of the young guys going on? Do you think that they would take his advice or go with it, or how do you think they do it?
Well, first, they might have been looking at his Auburn training camp, but it depends. If I was a young quarterback getting drafted like Bryce Young or CJ Stroud or, even maybe these guys aren't on his list, but Will Levis, the guy that is on his list, Anthony Richardson, it depends. It depends on their play style. Now, a college quarterback, right? They might have one strategy because they play on that team for 3-4 years. Does that mean that strategy is going to work in the NFL? No. So they might have to change. They might have to change it up a little bit. And the guy that knows quite a bit about that is Cam Newton. Now, they might listen to him at first, say, okay, you know what, I'll try whatever you have to say for 5 weeks. If you're 1-4, 2-3, 0-5 after 5 weeks, you don't listen to him. You go with your own. But I don't Cam Newton, he could be a backup. And he said I don't think he could be a backup for the Dolphins, though. That's one point I do want to point out because of the fact he would probably end up not being a backup quarterback. He would be the third string quarterback, which they would bring up Skylar Thompson. But say Cam Newton beats out Skylar Thompson to become QB2, Tua gets down and injured, and they throw in Skylar Thompson. Thompson gets injured. Now you're left with Cam Newton that so far hasn't been too good. And your season's done. No playoffs.
Interest. Yep. And play, it's not that I'm not a Cam Newton fan per se. And just more in the fact on where he is in his career. I think sometimes my dad used to call it a come to Jesus. This guy needs to have a come to Jesus, a real sit down with the man and realize who and what he is right now as now starting quarterback. And he's lucky to be a backup quarterback. I get where he's coming from. He says, I'm not 32 or bigger. So I get what he's talking about, but at the same time, the NFL's changing at every given rate. And when you're Cam Newton and a rookie or a second-year guy, you got to ask yourself as an NFL franchise, what's the difference? And really, in reality, based upon what you said, his last play when he played, now granted, they kind of threw him to the wolves and everything, but still, superstars make plays. Superstars win games. Superstars make a big presence on the field, not just for one game. They consistently do it for many games and take it into the playoffs. So that's right. Cam Newton, I love the idea of Cam Newton because he's always a good story. I mean, if you want to throw gas on a fire, throw Cam Newton on it. It'll go up. If you got something going, if you need a little gas, that's what Cam Newton can be, depending upon who he's going to play for, what kind of thing that's going to go on. Now, that also being said, story that we didn't get to, and I don't know how much you know about it, but man, I saw this hit that this guy wants to be traded. Now, I'll be honest, I haven't checked and see if anybody grabbed him up or went ahead and took him on his offer or anything, but as far as I heard, he's still a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. He's requesting the trade, and when you think about it, since 2020, there's only been 3 instances in the NFL as an NFL player accumulating over 100 tackles and 15 quarterbacks in a single set. Wow, it just happens to be him the 3 other times. So we know the guy's a stud. We know what he can do. We know what he brings to the table week after week. If you're a guy or a team that needs this kind of play from this type of player at the linebacking position, this is a guy that you might want to go out. I guess the question is how much money is he going to want? Let's get down to the brass knucks about it because the guy's a stud. There's no question. How much money will he want? Or more like how much is he willing to play for a certain team? That's probably something else too.
Well, first off, all I'm going to say is I'm so happy that he does not want to be a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. As a Saints fan, as long as he doesn't go to the Falcons or the Panthers, as long as he goes to us or our division team.
Are you telling me you don't want him to stay in the NFC South to play against you? Would you like him on your team?
Yes, I want him on our team, but I'm just going to say I am terrified of that guy. He What did he do? He tore Jameis Winston's ACL or something. I am terrified of him. He is an amazing player, and I do not want to have to play against him 2 times a year, maybe even 3.
It's bad. Depending on how the playoffs go, could be 3. Choose bad enough. But the funny thing you mentioned, we're going to go a little sideways here. Jameis Winston and what he does and everything. Were you shocked, actually? I mean, were you shocked at the re-signing of a Jameis Winston with everything that's going on and what they could do, especially in the draft, depending on who falls where? Now, granted, you're not going to get the studs and everything that are going up, but it's a good chance of maybe getting a qual. Hey, don't forget, the GOAT. He was a 6th round draft pick. I mean, so you got an opportunity to find something, maybe take a shot at. Are you surprised they went the Jameis Winston route?
Very, very. One very, very shocking thing. Him and Dennis Allen. It's not good. It's not good.
And you were reading my mind. And granted, we didn't talk about what we were going to talk about, except I sent you the pictures. Personally, we didn't talk. It's exactly where I was looking at with Dennis Allen at the what's bad enough. I lean a little bit your way on how I feel about Dennis Allen as the head coach of your Saints. So I'm gonna go with Tom. Probably don't want to say it, but I think he kind of leans a little bit that way. He probably wants to give him another year before he finally throws him out in the ocean. But when Dennis Allen and a quarterback such as a Jameis Winston, it didn't seem, or there was nothing ever published that even this guy liked this guy as an option at the quarterback. You never heard in any of the news conferences what he really feels about a Jameis Winston being on his football team. Is this a franchise move or is this a coach move? I'm with you. I think it's got to be a franchise move based upon money on what he would take in order to stay as a backup.
Yeah, and one thing, this is one of the big reasons why I say him and Dennis Allen are not good friends. We'll go with good friends here. Jameis Winston healed pretty early in the season, yet Dennis Allen still said that he was injured. He didn't want Jameis Winston to play over Andy Dalton. Okay, I'm sorry.
Wow.
Dalton, he's a good guy. Good guy 5-6 years ago. This season, he was a top 25-ish quarterback. He wasn't good. His interceptions weren't good. He was making the dumbest reads ever. I go to a little restaurant out in Bedford. It's called why can't I think of it? If I think of it, I'll say about it.
Well, you're just buffering, just like I am, man. You're just you get from here to here. I understand.
Right, and so I had to sit there and watch those games. Right, I'm not saying it was a pain, but what was a pain and an eyesore was watching Andy Dalton try and throw into a window. He cannot do what other quarterbacks can do. He cannot throw into a window like Patrick Mahomes. And some of his throws, he doesn't really have that great of an arm anymore. And his accuracy was a tad bit off. And he just wasn't getting the right people the ball. Now, I like the fact that we did include Rashid Shaheed in the offense, which he was good. But the game against the Cardinals started out hot. We were the only team to lose in the Cardinals' home stadium the entire year. And of course, like the defensive clip of the year is Andy Dalton going and then you have someone backflipping into the end zone behind him. And that's why I am not a Jalen Thompson fan. If I had a chance, I would smack him dead in his face. But Andy Dalton, he wasn't the guy. And Dennis Allen kept saying, believe in him, believe in him, believe in him. But why do you expect your fans to believe in a guy that is not going out there and winning too many games? Now, one game I will be surprised that we won was against the Browns. I think it was like week 14, week 15. In the snow against Nick Chubb.
Okay.
Was Nick Chubb out? I can't really remember.
He was out. He had a thigh injury. I know of the game that you're talking about because I was sitting there thinking they're going to go, and I picked Cleveland because of Nick Chubb, and then obviously he didn't play in that game. Yeah,
but just the circumstances of the game, I did not see us winning that. I'm pretty sure I had more confidence in us beating the Ravens earlier in the year than I did us beating the Browns. Andy Dalton, I'll put it plain and simple, he wasn't the guy. I'm glad he's in Carolina, and I hope we end up playing Carolina. Well, we will.
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean, obviously. I hope we play Carolina, and our defense just gets as many interceptions on Andy as we can. If we can get 2 interceptions a game against Andy Dalton, if he does end up, starting if, a guy, their starting QB1 out of the draft gets injured.
Yeah, absolutely.
I am hoping we destroy him.
Keeping it real.
Keeping it real right here on the Couch Potato Sports Show here on the Sunday. Now, that being said, of course, we got a little off, but that's what we do on the show. We'll take a subject and then we will take it up a step notch later, like we always do. That being said, other things that are going on, there's a former NFL quarterback that needs to get drug tested and drug tested a lot. And you make sure you do it every day because I don't understand. And if you go back in the history of Carson Palmer, former, Bengal quarterback. So that's the reason why they're talking to him, former Arizona Cardinal. And if I'm not mistaken, he was a Raider as well. That having been said, Carson Palmer needs to get drug tested today, guys. I am telling you, I don't know what the hell this guy is thinking. Okay. I think Joe Burrow is the best quarterback in the league. It really does boil down to, I get that you have your homer aspects of what you do. You do that on a show like this. I'm sorry, Carson, you are in the mainstream media and you are showing who you are as a homer. I mean, listen, if you honestly think that Joe Burrow, now, if you want to say Joe Burrow is going to be the best quarterback in 6 or 7 years, maybe I'm going to get along with it. But for him to say he's the best quarterback in the league right now just tells me that this guy almost, we talk about it. If you don't know football, at least a little bit, I mean, on that level, you can't say this. You can't say this about the MVP, 2-time MVP in the Super Bowl, winning twice. I mean, led the league in touchdowns. I mean, all the things, throws an underhand pass that looks like a piece of bread or a loaf of bread, and it still comes out good. He says, I know Patrick Mahomes is phenomenal, but I just think that Joe's more consistent.
Blasphemy! The blasphemy!
I know, Stephen A. It's blasphemy. So I'll put it to you, Z. You know Joe Burrow. Everybody knows who Joe Burrow is. This is the guy. He's gonna be a star. He's gonna be a big star. He may even be a Super Bowl winning quarterback. But to say he's the best quarterback over Patrick Mahomes, the guy needs a drug test.
Yeah, I'm after this, I'm probably gonna have to look at this again and go outside and laugh very, very, very hard. I'm sorry, Joe Burrow, no disrespect. Your Carson Palmer gave you way too much confidence that you're better than Mahomes. Yeah, okay, I can see why Carson Palmer might have said this. Joe Burrow has beaten Patrick Mahomes several times, but when it really comes down to it, and when it really came down to it this year, whoops, you let up, Joe. You missed the Super Bowl. And Mahomes, he's just, if you were to put Joe Burrow in last year's Mahomes offense, I don't think he would have managed. Because if you really think, right, Joe Burrow, let's go over last year's receiving corps with Mahomes and Burrow. So Burrow, you have Jamar Chase, who you've played with for several seasons. You have a dog in T. Higgins. Behind him, you have maybe one of the most underrated wide receivers that could easily start for almost any other team, or maybe go number 2, Tyler Boyd. And I think he doesn't I don't think he gets talked about enough. Now let's go over to Mahomes. Your number 1 guy is Juju Smith-Schuster. Okay. He's a little TikTok boy doing his little Corvette, whatever.
So I'm a good chair dancer. I mean, but I don't go on TikTok.
Right. And the rest. You have MVS and Kadarius Toney, and he didn't even get Kadarius Toney till halfway through the season was over. And Sky Moore. Here, let me see if I can try and interpret Sky Moore. Where is that? You know what? Here, hang on. Let me pull something out from under my bed real quick. Here, we'll go with this right here. Catching a punt.
Yeah, something like that, right? Hey, we get this on the show. That's awesome. Cuervo, the fine co-host of this program, says the Bengals should have been to back-to-back Super Bowls, and we know why that didn't happen. And then he goes on and says it'd be interesting if Juju can adapt to the Patriot way. That is a very good question. And I think the way that it works, as far as the Patriots are concerned, we know what the guy is capable of doing. And I'm not talking about Tom Brady, okay, who's the GOAT of all quarterbacks. I'm talking about the GOAT of all coaches, how he can train to get Juju to play not just as a number 2 wide receiver, but the guy that can take the next step and be the guy. And that means, guess what? He's got to have Mac Jones develop a relationship with Juju in reality, as far as can they make it work together? And I think that's the interesting question about Juju going to the Patriots. Thought it was a very interesting story. And when I was like, how does this work? Then I asked myself the question, well, who's going to be the quarterback? It seems like they are going on the Mac Jones, bandwagon. They're going to go there. He'll be number 1. Exactly. And it's just like he's reading my mind. You lose Myers, the guy that maybe if that was the love affair that was going on, he's gone. You don't even have him as number 2 or number 3. So now you got Juju. Talking about Juju, where he came from Pittsburgh, he couldn't step up to be the number 1 guy, goes to Kansas City, he didn't have to be the number 1 guy. Now he goes to the Patriots, and the Patriots, where they are as far as their record is concerned, where they've been playing for the last few years, you got to ask the question, is Juju enough? And something tells me it isn't.
Now, I heard you say this. You said Bill Belichick is the GOAT of all coaches, right?
Absolutely. And listen, I love Lombardi. I love Lombardi like he's my brother. But listen, Lombardi has not been able to do what a Bill Belichick has been able to do based upon it. Now, granted, part of it, the big part of it is, Tom Brady at the quarterback position. That helps, but they had some talent back in those days too. I just think he's better.
Well, okay, I'm going to have to disagree with you just super quick.
Absolutely. No. Everybody disagrees with me, and normally everybody else is right, not me. So go ahead.
So if you look the past, okay, so if you look through Tom Brady's career as a starter, Bill Belichick was winning games. Whenever Tom left, He made it to the playoffs once since Tom Brady left. He hasn't been getting the good seasons. Now, Bill Belichick, here's why I think Juju might end up being the guy. Bill Belichick's type of receiver is to go over, he's more of a slower guy.
Yes.
Like if the Dolphins right now were like, okay, give us a 7th round pick and we'll take Tyreek Hill. Yeah, you know what? Maybe not that much. But a third and another third, and we'll give you Tyreek Hill. Bill Belichick probably might say no. Because his type of receiver is a slower type of receiver. And right now, there's only 2 receivers that I know on the Patriots roster right now. No, 3. Juju, Tyquan Thornton from last year's draft, which he's a little fast for Bill Belichick. That's why that was kind of surprising for me. And Kendrick Bourne, I just don't think he's that good, and they're paying him quite a bit of money. Trade him for like a 3rd or 4th round pick. I'm just going to be honest. Free up some cap space. Help yourself, Bill. But hire me, Patriots. I'll help you.
But there you go, hire you, right? But here's what I think, and I argue this all the time, and because it's the reason why I have Cuervo on the show. It's the reason why I have you on the show. There's an old school pattern that Bill Belichick has. There's also a part of the Bill Belichick that can get to the young school, the new school. Can get to. Will they buy into it? Will they do what Bill says needs to be done in order for them to be the superstar that they quite possibly be? And that's what you get. And you are absolutely right, because Tom Brady, he didn't need speedsters to make that. Now, he did have Randy Moss one year, and it was a phenomenal year. Don't get me wrong, but that's not necessarily the norm of what a Bill Belichick brings to your football team as the head coach. He wants methodical. That's what he wants. He wants a slow-paced, methodical game where he picks you apart. You don't, in other words, Bill Belichick doesn't need you to go deep in order to win football games if you go by the pattern that he has set up. Now, when they get behind you at a Tom Brady who could go deep, and listen, let's be honest, Tom Brady on some of those deep throws had no intention on maybe even coming close to hitting his wide receiver. He was hoping for the penalty flag, which he got a lot, especially on the deep ball. So say whatever you want about it. You don't necessarily even have to be a great deep ball thrower, i.e. Tom Brady, even though he's had success. But most of the time when he's throwing deep down there, I don't even think he even cared if they caught the ball. He was hoping they at least get the flag. If you don't get the catch, you get the flag. And you've seen that through his career, especially in the last 2 minutes of a football game when they're behind. And that's how he did it. That's why he's the GOAT. He didn't necessarily need him to catch it, but he's going to put it in a position where they can get the flag. I'm telling you right now, it's one of those things. Now, that being said, of course, that's the name of the show. There's a question down here from Cuervo, the fine co-host of this program who couldn't be with us today. He says, where do you think the Saints are going at number 29 on Thursday?
That, you put me right on the spot here.
I know. Hey, we go left whenever a body goes right. So you got to be ready for that. So.
Oh yeah. No, trust. I'm not saying I'm not ready. I'm just saying that's kind of tough. There are quite a few needs on the Saints roster, and I don't think there's a balance between. There's a balance between what the Saints need offensively and defensively, which is why at pick 29, there's 2 ways you could go. You go defensive side of the ball, you're not wrong. You go offensive side of the ball, you're not wrong. So, say we go defense. We're selecting a defensive tackle. Say we go offense. We're selecting a tight end. Now, what tight end might that be? if Dalton Kincaid is somehow still there, we're probably taking Dalton Kincaid to line up either ahead or behind of Juwan Johnson. And because of course we want to leave Juwan Johnson in, that first role because we paid him quite a bit of money. Well, not quite a bit, but we paid him money. But it's definitely a possibility that we select a tight end. Now, maybe we
here's what I'm going to tell you about the tight end. I think there's a guy that they need to go after, and it's just more in the fact that he's young, he's a stud. Darnell Washington out of Georgia. I'm telling you, that's the guy. That's the guy. If you're going to go, I think for the Saints. Of course, you take Kincaid, but there's no question. Kincaid's probably not going to be there. But if he falls down to 20, what is the number? 29? If he falls to 29, they better grab him up. But if they don't, they can maybe even slide into the second round for the tight ends, because there's some good tight ends in this draft. There is no question. But whether or not where people are picking, do they need the tight end or will invest in the tight end? And that, because you do have Kincaid, you got Michael Mayer out of Notre Dame. That's another guy you have to look at. Luke Musgrave is another guy. It's one of the Oregon schools. I forget. I think it's Oregon State. I think he's a Beaver. And then you have a Laporta out of Ohio. And if you are, the Saints, if you don't go Darnell Washington, I think you stay back a little bit and get Sam Laporta out of Iowa, because tight ends are coming out of Iowa big time. I love Iowa tight ends. They're always pretty good. So that being said, big dog, what's going on? Yeah, I've been working. I'm going to be Santa this year, and you should be a Santa too. You should, starting in November, start growing a beard there, big dog. You'd be a great Santa, just in case you didn't know. And then Cuervo, and we're back to a Bill Belichick portion of the show when he says Bill Belichick's life's physical receivers. That's why it didn't work out for Brandon Cooks. And he is right. And Brandon Cooks, I'm not mistaken, didn't he just get signed with the Cowboys, right? Brandon Cooks?
And I think that'll work out. This gives you a pretty good option for Dak Prescott. Does this mean it's going to help Dak Prescott? Who knows? But you have CeeDee Lamb. You have
Galloway. Gallup.
Yeah, you have Gallup. You have Cooks. You have a couple guys. And I just saw something that we need a pass rusher, because, yes, we did get rid of Marcus Davenport, who went to the Vikings, because I was trying to find defensive tackle names. I'm not great with college names. I'm just going to be honest with you. I was looking at a mock draft where the Saints trade up to number 23 with the Vikings. And the Vikings get picked 29 and 115 and a 2024 fifth round pick. Now, I could see this happening. And we're rivals. So, maybe the Vikings just say, no, you're not getting any of it. No, we hate y'all. I hate y'all too. But
I'm with that. I'm not a Cowboy fan by a stretch.
Yeah, and I'm seeing something else. Cowboys now need a tight end too. Do they take another guy whose first name is Dalton and him end up going to the Texans too after getting signed with the franchise tag? I've been trolling all my friends that are Cowboys fans at school. I've been telling them that, and they hate me for it. But I can see them taking Dalton Kincaid, and maybe this Dalton tight end actually staying with the Cowboys, kind of like Jason Witten, staying with them for quite a while.
By the way, speaking of Dallas tight ends, it just went over my head. Sorry. Another one we missed on this show, Gavin Escobar, who passed away. He was rock climbing. From what I read, Gavin Escobar passed away, and this was, when was this? It just popped in my head because we missed. This was sometime last year. I don't know. It's sometime in November, I think it was, but he was rock climbing and he passed away. So that's kind of weird to think about at such a young age. So respects and thoughts, because I liked Escobar. When they got rid of him, I thought that was the mistake. They should have kept that guy. That guy was wide. He was a stud. Kind of reminded me of the murderer who they used to have. I forget his name. But Tony, was it Tony?
Dorsett.
No, the tight end. Hey, Cuervo, the tight end played for the Patriots that was convicted of murder, and I can't remember. But it reminds me. Hendrickson? No. What's that dude's name?
Aaron Hernandez.
Now that's gonna bother me. Aaron Hernandez. That's it. He reminds me of Aaron Hernandez, a wide guy. Listen. Take the murder aspect out of it, okay? You've got to do that with O.J. Simpson. You got to take the murder aspect out of it.
Right.
I mean, O.J. was a phenomenal runner. Listen, Aaron Hernandez, that guy, he kind of started in reality with the GOAT. Finding that tight end that cannot be just a tight end, but can be a wide receiver. And he kind of fit and started that mold. And then you got the Gronks, and then you have, the guy in Kansas City, his name slipped my mind, but now you got a whole herd. Yes. Now you got a whole herd of a different type of tight end in reality. And I think it possibly started with an Aaron Hernandez, that type of player. And then, of course, what he went and did with the Patriots and stuff. And yeah, Kelsey is another one. So yeah, I know. Yeah, Cuervo, we missed this, Galvin. It went over our heads. And the funny thing is, it was just this past week, I was like, whatever happened to that guy? So, and I went and, Google knows everything, and I found out, and then he passed away. It was like, November, October, something like that. He passed away rock climbing. So yeah, that one went way over our heads. We missed that one as far as, the passings of some of the football players that are out there. So, that's where we're at. By the way, Cuervo, always good to see you. He didn't make the show.
What?
I know he didn't make the show, Bryce. We haven't seen Bryce forever. So Sonny this week is going to be reaching out to Bryce, and we're going to find out when a good time that we can bring at least Bryce in for an hour to talk about his Pittsburgh Steelers and what's going on and all the changes that are happening in Pittsburgh, what he thinks about them. They got a former Chicago Bear wide receiver who used to be a former something else before he went over there. So, yeah, exactly. So, Robinson. Yeah, L.A. Ram. So they got Robinson now. So,
I can't even lie. I didn't hear about that till yesterday. I was just, because we went to the Fighters game last night.
Yes.
And
by the way, let's sidetrack. I watched the game. I got home like right when it started, and I'm telling you right now, this is indoor football, folks. So if you're not, just let it go in when you're out the other. Beating the Arizona Rattlers, regardless of what they got going on, but it just felt good because it was Kevin Guy. I can't stand the guy. I met him. He's a jerk. Okay, I'm not even gonna hold back. This guy is a complete ass clown. That's it. A Jericho reference. He's a complete ass clown. That having been said, it felt good the way they dug that game into him too. That third quarter was magnificent by the Fighters.
Oh, yeah, and I was giving the Rattlers. I was because it was coming down. They were only down by a score. There was like a minute left, and we ended up kicking that field goal to seal it. And I can't even lie. Your boy might have helped out a little bit.
All right.
They were by the tunnel lining up, and Rattlers DB. I forgot what his name was, but he was number 20. I was like, "You ain't nothing, 20. You ain't nothing." I was getting into his head, and he was like, "I beat y'all if I was in y'all prime." He was like, "If I was in my prime, I'd be whooping y'all's." You know what? I can't say this, but yeah, it was definitely
you get a victory against the Rattlers regardless. Okay, first of all, Kevin Guy's a jerk. Personally, I met him. But one of the things, Kevin Guy is like the Dallas Cowboys to me, okay, of the 90s. The Dallas Cowboys of the 90s. He's so good, you hate him. So I had that going on me for a long time being here in Texas. Now, we started out in Arizona. That's how Bill and I, Bill Cerna, we didn't even meet in Arizona, but that's our get. But when you have a Kevin Guy who, let's just be honest, this guy is an indoor coach. He knows what he's doing. You win championships, you got to hate him because they usually beat the teams that you play. So, yeah, I hate the guy, but I respect what he brings to the game and how he does it. And when you beat a Kevin Guy football team, even this year, even though the Rattlers aren't the best team in the IFL right now, that's still a good win for the Frisco Fighters.
Yeah, and there was one play I especially liked. They got tipped up, I think, by a D lineman, and our offensive lineman caught it and went down at like the 3. Like, he ran a good 10 yards. This guy's an offensive lineman. And there was another play, Juju. Not Juju. We were talking about Juju so much.
There you go.
Jeremy Smith.
Yes. Yes.
Jerm the Worm. He's one of my favorites. We were it was because we were on the opposite field. Because where I'm at. I'm at that tunnel. They were at the opposite field going towards us, and he hit a juke. Guy's ankle. He just went he fell, and then I think it was like a safety. Chucks right through the safety. I'm not even joking. He put his shoulder. He's a wide receiver. Obviously, he's a wide receiver, but
right.
He's not that big of a guy. This guy was probably about maybe an inch or two taller, maybe about 10, 20 pounds heavier.
Blew through him.
He threw him. He just went pow. I mean, the
looks like
crack of the pass.
No one's expected a puff of smoke when that happened. Yeah. I know what play you're talking about because I was watching the game. So yeah.
And there were a couple big hits too, and the whole crowd just going boom, and it's amazing. It was an amazing game.
Well, here's the deal. The IFL standings right now, the way that it's looking, the Frisco Fighters undefeated so far this season. They're 5-0 right now. And the Quad City Steam Wheelers behind them at 4-1. I hate the Steam Wheelers just because I don't like their owner. I know him personally. He's a jerk too, just like Kevin Guy. They belong together. Yeah, exactly. Just personally, he's a jerk, But that being said, Steamwheelers, EJ Hilliard, that guy's a stud. You can say whatever you want. We got a great quarterback here in Frisco. I'm not even gonna downplay that. But you cannot not throw a little respect on EJ Hilliard's name for the Steam. You can't stand that team. But anyway, you got to throw some respect on the guy because that guy's a stud. Because if our guy goes down, you want to go after. You want EJ Hilliard as your quarterback if you can get him.
Oh yeah. And I feel a lot of teams and their fans feel the same way that you feel about you were just talking about him, and I can't remember his name. The Arizona Rattlers coach.
Kevin Guy?
Kevin Guy. You hate Kevin Guy. We hate the owner of the Steamwheelers. I hate the Steamwheelers. You gotta think every other team in the IFL hates us too because we're 5-0. And last year,
that's true. And by the way, no one's even close. Well, the Steamwheelers are 4-1, but the other team's 3-1, 2-1, 2-2. No one's even close right now as far as where they are. And what shocks me, and maybe it's because of tradition, I hate to see the Barnstormers 0-4. That's just not good for the league. It's not good for the game. I want to see them in it. When the Barnstormers are in a playoff run, that's good for the league, I think, because of the history, because of who the Barnstormers were. If you don't know, Kurt Warner, former Iowa Barnstormer, and winning the championship there, and then of course winning with the Rams. Kind of a great feel good story that you see as far as how guys go on and do what they do. But in the IFL, that's the way it's looking right now. Over in the Eastern Conference, Frisco Fighters 5-0, Quad City at 4-1, and then everybody else just stinks. Okay, let's just be honest. At 2-2 are the Storm as well as the Pirates. Green Bay is I had a little hope for them to be better this year. They're not. Green Bay is at 2-3. Tulsa, the new team, 1-3 over there. And on the western side is the other Arizona team that is right there at 3-1. Northern Arizona at 2-1. Then the Vegas at 2-2, 2-3 for the Strike Force and the Arizona Rattlers. Man, I'm telling you right now, I can't remember the last time the Rattlers were 2-3 on a regular season, and Duke City at 2-3, and the Panthers at 1-3. That's the standings. It's going to be really interesting as the rest of the season goes on as far as where they are.
Now, because last time I checked standings, the Oilers didn't have a win. They won a game.
Say that again. I missed that.
Tulsa won a game.
Yeah, Tulsa won a game. Yes. Let me get right back there. Tulsa is 1-3. They won a game. Yes, that. Yeah. Helmet froze over there. Yeah, helmet froze over there. 1-3. Oh, is that the team? Well, no, that's the CIF, and that's just garbage league anyway now. So that I tried to bring them out of their garbage thinking, and I just didn't get it done. I tried, but they wouldn't listen to Sonny. But hey, that's another story for another day. As far as where we're at now, some other things going on, and I want to switch. We're gonna switch the show to a little wrestling because it was just announced. I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before, but I saw it, and I'm like, I'm missing something. How it came out of left field as Omos is going to take on Seth Rollins at Backlash. And I'm like, what's the story? Did I miss? I know. I felt the same way. I was sitting there, and when I where was? Oh, I was scrolling in the Facebook thing. So I was scrolling around, and I saw it, and the first thing I thought to myself is Seth Rollins, who is just, let's just be honest, that guy's killing it. I mean, he is killing everything. Everything he touches is gold. Okay. And then I hear about him taking on. What? I know, Bryce, it doesn't make any sense to me. I missed on how it happened because I was sitting there thinking, as far as everything that is going on and how things seem to be going very well in the WWE right now, so I'm going to ask you, did Vince McMahon actually take over this? I mean, because this right here is Vince McMahon bringing in a match that has no storyline, nothing. These guys don't even have a quarrel, and here we are. We're getting Omos and Seth Rollins at Backlash. What is your take on it? Why do you think it's happening?
Now, I'll tell you this. We'll find out very quickly if it's a Vince McMahon thing. If Seth Rollins gets squashed, it's a Vince McMahon thing. We just know it. Anytime Omos is on a card, Vince McMahon is usually like, oh yeah, put him on the card. You know, we're trying to make him this big dude, big star. He's not that guy. Send him, if anything, send him down to NXT. Let him dominate in NXT. Let him win the NXT title. Then let him drop it, go back to the main roster, and then maybe put him in the IC or US title scene just for a tag.
Fully agree with you. I mean, because that's what NXT, and we were talking about this 2 weeks ago. Dominic Mysterio needs to go down to NXT.
I agree. You know what?
This is something, and that would make a great story after going and dominating in NXT and then getting back up to the main roster and that whole storyline with the Judgment Day. Just bring him down for when he wrestles that thing and get him back out. You know, this is, I mean, granted, now I'm not a writer for WWE, but I know talent in the wrestling ring, and we're not getting it with Dominic Mysterio right now. It's just not there. And I think the same thing about Omos, and I was talking to the Podfather, Trey Mack, and he was like, no, I think that would, yeah, I know. I puked in my throat too. It's just horrible. But he was talking about this would be a great push for Omos beating Lesnar. I'm like, why are you going to tear down Lesnar's legacy with a loss against a guy who can't even hardly move in the ring right now? And that's, it's one thing if Omos was super bad and super athletic and everything, but he's not. And you don't have a guy who's not super athletic or a superstar in reality in the making fairly quickly. Have Lesnar lose to that guy. It makes zero sense. So I didn't even understand the Brock Lesnar Omos match more so than anything at WrestleMania.
Well, here's a thing. Like you said, if he was super athletic like a guy like Ivar's what, 300 plus pounds? And
330 pounds, and he's doing incredible things in the ring.
He's doing stuff I can't do. I'm not even 100 pounds and I can't do that. He's over here doing cartwheels. He's doing springboards. Springboards. And he's over here
second rope like it's nothing.
There's a reason why at one point he was called 305 Live.
Yes.
He is. Oh man.
And Omos is the next big thing, and he can't even get his leg over the top rope. And so I'm missing. And the only thing I can think of, this is a Vince McMahon move. This is not a listen, Triple H, and this is one of the things I like about Triple H. Triple H went against the grain, that being a Vince McMahon, and to where it got to a point where Vince McMahon said, go do what you're going to do and figure it out. He stepped to the side when he needed to in order for the talent to take the step. But Omos is not on the level of a Triple H and Shawn Michaels at the time to make a turn, say, listen to me, this is what we should do kind of thing. The move like that comes from old school thinking, which, listen, I love old school wrestling. I'm an old school guy, so I love old school wrestling, but I can appreciate what the new school is bringing toward because, it's almost like someone took a back step because Braun Strowman and Ricochet as a tag team, no sense to me. That is somebody else. That's not Triple H pulling the trigger on this, I don't think. And I definitely don't think it's the Omos thing, putting together a match with with Seth Rollins right now, with him being on such a roll, and if he actually loses to an Omos, I think that just kills all the momentum that Seth Rollins has right now. When you're looking at Seth Rollins, what are you looking at for the future of him outside of Omos? Because who knows what's going to happen in that match?
Well, I see Seth Rollins. He's been in the WWE for a while now, quite a bit,
Yeah.
I could see whenever he's healthy again. I could see. Well, first I'll give you a little quote storyline.
All right.
So you have Seth Rollins gain his momentum. Let's just hypothetically he beats Omos, which he should, but it's Vince. So, well, most likely it's Vince. Most likely.
Okay.
You have Rollins build up momentum. You have him go after the WWE title. Now, how does this happen? Well, when is Money in the Bank? That's in May, right?
Yeah, May or June. Yes, it's May or June usually. Yeah.
So you have him build up momentum. He wins Money in the Bank. SummerSlam, Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns. Undisputed WWE title. Comes down to the final moments. And Seth Rollins pulls another Money in the Bank. Now, sure, it's re-rolling a storyline, but I'm going to tweak a couple things. So he wins the titles. And he's going to do what Cody Rhodes would do. He gives the Universal title to SmackDown. Now, does that seem like a Seth Rollins thing to do? No. Does it seem like something Triple H would probably want? Most likely. I think there was, I don't know if this was just a rumor, but I think Triple H was about to force Roman Reigns to vacate one of the titles.
That's what I read all through like 6 months before WrestleMania. It was that the idea was him to drop it and let Cody Rhodes complete the story, I guess you can say. And then I think that would, and actually I think what happened this year was actually really the plan for last year.
Yep.
Before he got hurt. So I think what I think they're doing is an extension of what last year was supposed to be, and just taking around one more year. But the question is who's going to be the champion at that time that he's going to take the belt? Is it going to be Roman Reigns, or is it going to be somebody else? And the fact of the matter is, I think they're even dropping the ball on the Roman Reigns thing because I think they're missing out on the obvious story. Maybe it's me. But you not having Roman Reigns going up against Seth Rollins is the dumbest thing I think I've ever seen. After what happened to him, as far as what was going on, as far as the Shield was concerned, the backlash on that whole faction and what ended up happening. And they have not even come close to even mentioning those two competing in the ring at any time. And I'm missing it.
Right, but at first it's just a SummerSlam title match, Roman versus Cody. Seth cashes in, pins one of them. I don't know who he pinned. He might pin Cody because of that storyline that happened. But he doesn't go after Cody, and Cody doesn't go after him. What happens is we see a return, if he's healthy, of the Viper Randy Orton, and he goes after Seth.
That's really interesting. By the way, and what we do, I don't get an opportunity to always catch what is going on. So as far as WWE is concerned, and the new, there is WWE news that is going on. Oh crap! I should have wrote it down because I just think it slipped my mind. That's all right. With the merger, they're talking about making cuts to the WWE, and that merger is, well, first of all, the merger is the big story, and that happens literally the day after WrestleMania. The merger happens, and then just recently, what's coming out, I find very interesting. I think it's I wonder why they would do it, and I wondered when it was going to happen. So in my mind, I knew it was going to happen based upon what business is in the WWE and based upon business in general. What happens is someone acquires somebody and then changes, making cuts, cutting down salaries, cutting down spending, and all that other stuff that goes on regarding regarding the WWE and what they do. So what's the first thing they usually do? Well, they make changes and they start cutting people because according to what was written, we think 50 million is a conservative number on the cuts that they're going to make in the WWE. Where's that 50 million going to be cut? Because you can't cut anything what they do with WrestleMania. So all that money and everything they do, they got to keep that money as far as that is concerned. They need to keep the SummerSlam money as well. Outside of that, where are they going to make the cuts? Why are they going to make the cuts? Are they going to go back to the day? And this is not more than 2-3 years ago, Z? No pyro. I mean, when the years they had no pyro, it was believe it or not, it's a big part of the entertainment value that you get with it. But I was sitting there, I remember this like it was yesterday. Watching this, where's all the pyro? That's first thing they cut when they decided they were going to cut some funds, and that was under Vince McMahon. So it's really kind of interesting. All these things coming out. I think we can see a lower on the pyro as well to save money. Now Does that equal 50 million? I have no clue. I don't have a clue how much pyro costs in the WWE, but it's got to be a lot because that is a spectacle each and every week, 2 times a week, 3 times if you count NXT, and then of course you got the big pay-per-views.
Yeah. I'm really trying to think here. Yeah, they definitely could cut out some of the pyro. I mean, you don't have to have, Cody Rhodes over here. Hang on, let me try and give you a Cody Rhodes impression here.
Frankly, I'm kind of sick of that. I mean, I've seen what Cody Rhodes since he came back on. It's the same thing. It's the same thing over and over. But then again, so is everybody else. So I guess I shouldn't just. Maybe I'm just sick of. I might be just sick of Cody Rhodes. I don't know.
Yeah. No, but I could definitely see cutting people that they just don't use. And one of those guys, I don't really. I mean, okay, I'll say guys that they shouldn't use. I'll just give you this straight off the bat, so they don't ruin the company anymore. Get rid of Omos. Just do it. Just do it. It just doesn't make sense.
I don't think he's ready.
I don't
losing
either.
him and cutting him, it wouldn't hurt my feelings as far as that. And as much as I like MVP personally, I've met MVP on many occasions. Love me some MVP. They're going to cut him. That guy's gone. He's going to be back down doing what he did when we seen him on a regular basis, right? He's going to come back down to the Indies. And hey, let's face it, that guy on the indie level, he controls an MVP on indie level. Whenever someone mentions MVP, there you go. MVP is draw. There's something about that. So he'll do kind of what you've seen other guys do when they go down and not travel as much, cut whatever he has to do to make a living. That having been said, there's a lot of people, I'm not impressed with Ricochet. Maybe it's me. I don't know. You're a young cat. I'm not impressed with Ricochet. What's your thought on Ricochet? Is he part of the 50 million cut?
That hurt. That hurt. Oh,
does he do anything but a flip? I mean, does he do anything else? I don't know. Do you see him do anything? I don't know. Maybe it's me.
I could see him. They want him for the insane spots.
Yeah.
Like you saw at the Royal Rumble. Ricochet, Logan Paul, jumping off, colliding in the middle of the ring. Spot of maybe the night.
Could have been.
Most likely.
No, and I'm not a Logan Paul fan, but I was impressed.
No, but you gotta. Ricochet is too big of a guy. He's not big. He's not your Roman Reigns type guy, your champions type guy. But give him a title. You give him a title, it'll be worth it. He could be kind of
which
like.
one is he gonna get? I mean, he can't get the big one, right? But is he going to take that? Who's he going to take that away from in reality?
Austin Theory. Put him in. Break up the tag team.
Wow.
Draft him to Raw with Austin Theory. That would be.
That could be a match.
That could definitely be good, in my opinion. Give him the U.S. title, and just give him a reign like Jeff Hardy in like 2019. Speaking of Jeff Hardy, he just made his debut in AEW again after.
Did he? So they let him out. I mean, they let him come out and play. After the latest fiasco.
Yeah. But give him like a 90-day title reign and move on from there, and then give someone else a chance. But I'm not saying give him a Roman Reigns tribal chief. Just
push.
Also, bring back his old music. Bring back his old theme. The new one I don't like. The old one's better.
I think that about Charlotte Flair. I don't like her new one. I mean, and when she came back to a new theme, I think they messed it up. They should have had the old theme and then on Monday introduce the new theme, because I think And I know that's small because, by the way, that match was outstanding at WrestleMania with her. I think they missed with the music. And as little as that is, I think it's a big thing in reality, especially when you're bringing back a Charlotte Flair. I think they missed old music. WrestleMania Monday or Friday, whatever I forget which night she was, then hit the new music. I would have been all for. But could you imagine if when she hit at WrestleMania, dun, 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 I actually like that theme. When it first started, I did not like the theme. But it kind of grew on me. I don't know why, but I just kind of grew on me. So, but
that's the same
now,
thing.
Granted, it's not a Rob Zombie intro, okay? But at least it's pretty good.
Yeah, I felt the same way about Roman Reigns at first. That new music, it's grown on me though. It definitely has.
Yes.
Same with Seth Rollins. I'm sorry, at first I didn't like it, but now it's growing.
Which
on
one?
me.
Now he's like combined 3 of his intros into one, which I think is actually kind of cool in reality.
Yeah.
So I always loved the Burn It Down. I thought that was just the coolest one, and then they morphed it, which that's just what they do. See, sometimes the WWE knows what they're doing, and that's one of them. I don't know whose thought that was. Was it Seth? Was it the WWE? But I'm telling you right now, his character, what they are doing with Seth Rollins right now is gold, and I think they're missing with the Omos. They're going to screw it up. That's what I think they're going to do. The Backlash, they're going to screw it up. And if he loses to Omos, that's really it seems like a Barry, and I'm going to tell you the reason why. Because the $50 million comes back into play. Okay, who are they going to get rid of in order to do? Could it be Seth Rollins and Becky at the same time? How much do you gain with both of them being gone? See, there's a lot of things that I'm looking at, and that on this show, which you don't know, we have a segment. I think there is a conspiracy going on somewhere within the WWE, and it starts with the Seth Rollins Omos match, and that's where it's going to start. Whether it'll be phasing out of Seth Rollins and phasing out of Becky, could that be in the works? That's what a little conspiracy portion of me, and the way business works. You're talking about 2 of the biggest paid guys. Would they be okay without them? And that's the thing about that. I think it would hurt. I don't think so either. I think it hurts. The Becky Lynch being gone, when she was gone having the baby, I didn't care. But maybe that was some. Now I love me some Sasha Banks. I think they're missing. They're not having Sasha Banks on a roster hurts this brand. I'm sorry, whichever brand it will be. That woman is a superstar, and the fact, hey, when her and Bayley were going at it, those are some of my favorite matches in all times. And these are the women matches, and I'm loving what they're doing on the woman side of the WWE now, because that Charlotte Flair match was out of sight. I was actually disappointed when Asuka didn't win. So it was one of those things. I would have loved to see Asuka grab up that thing, because I have to admit, I'm not what's her name? Bianca. I'm not a Bianca Belair fan. It's just me. I'm an Asuka fan. I wanted to see Asuka win that match and just be done, and then rewrite who Bianca is a little bit, because I think what the problem is I'm getting stale with Bianca Belair. It's the same thing over and over. I think she needs to make a little change, not much, keep the ST, but find something else to promote her to the big size. So she's got to lose in order to get that, I think.
Are you trying to say that you want her as a heel?
I would love to see her turn, and I think it would be the best thing for her career, because if you take a look at Bayley,
Yep.
the best thing that ever happened to her was her going heel. And matter of fact, I love me some Bailey. I don't care who she's going to wrestle. I want her to win every single time because I just got that much for the character when it changed. And it makes me wonder what could happen with Bianca Belair with a heel change.
Now, one thing I did read quite a while ago, and I think this is why. I'm gonna save this for a couple seconds just so, give a little bit of suspense.
All right.
I think this is why this guy lost at WrestleMania and didn't gain the IC title. There was a report that I saw that Drew McIntyre apparently wanted to leave, and that could free up some money. But you're not going to get a Drew McIntyre type of guy. You don't get that very often. Drew McIntyre is that guy. You need to put him back in the title. Is
he a superstar? Can he carry what Roman Reigns is doing? Because that's the only thing that he can do. There's no other place for him to go except to carry what Roman Reigns is doing. Do you think he can do it?
I think he could. I would love to see Drew McIntyre dethrone Roman Reigns. I'm sorry, the Roman Reigns storyline, the Bloodline storyline, it's getting a little stale.
I kind of like it.
And I mean, okay, yeah, I'm not gonna.
But I'm a heel guy per se.
Yeah.
I love the heels.
Right.
The baby faces, they're going to win and everything. I want to see how bad the heels are going to do it. What they're going to do to win it, and that's what. Yeah.
I want to see another Drew McIntyre heel turn. I want to see the Bloodline turn on Roman. I want to see Roman as a baby face. I want to see heel Drew McIntyre versus heel Roman Reigns. Undisputed title. McIntyre wins it and holds it for near a year.
I will say, I felt bad for the guy, and I'm not a Drew McIntyre fan. But him having to hold that title through COVID was horrible because you wouldn't know what the fans were going to bring to that story. You can say whatever you want about stories that are written within the WWE or any wrestling promotion per se, but if you're not getting the reaction from the fans, you don't make it. I'm always wondered what it would be like with Drew in a live situation instead of in front of those cameras or those TV
Thunderdome.
screens. Yeah, Thunderdome, which by the way was horrible, but at least we got to see some wrestling. But it just was. When you take the human element out of wrestling, you just kind of kill wrestling.
The stadium, the whole Thunderdome idea, I think that was pretty cool. Me personally, I think it was pretty cool. I liked it. I liked the Thunderdome.
Based upon either that or not having wrestling, I thought that's really the only thing they really could have done, I think.
And that is a whole reason why it was a little bit more entertaining, because it could be pre-recorded. And they could add so many more spots in scenes and cinematic.
Oh, we saw that. I mean, what was the championship match when they were on top of a bus? I think it was. They were on top of a bus. I'm sitting here watching this. I'm going, someone's going to get hurt. That's what I was thinking. It was a Randy Orton match, I think, where they're on top of a bus. Now, that wasn't live. You're never going to be able to convince me that was live. Just more in the fact of the risk that it was in order to get a shot or a few shots, that had to be done that way. But I remember watching that and going, that's actually pretty good for what this is. Because sometimes, based upon COVID and what was going on, based on what they could and could not do, obviously, you take the human element out of it. You take away the gasp. You take away the real response instead of it being, filtered in like it was filtered in. But at the same time, it was really interesting what was going on. Yeah, that's what it was. It was Randy and Edge. That's right. So, looking at that kind of thing, and here's the thing. And you even knew it. You knew it was pre-recorded, but you liked it anyway. So it was,
exactly.
You liked it anyway. So I get what you're saying. That's that new school portion that I get. I get the excitement. Now, that having been said, I did not like the AJ Undertaker match because I wanted to see a real match between those two. So that's the only that's really the only nitpicking I have regarding that. It's because I really wanted to see that match, not the film
cinematic thing. Yeah, it was okay though. It was. If I had to give it a rating out of 10, 4.5 at most 5. It was okay. But that was one thing I was actually going to bring up. I haven't watched a whole ton of wrestling in the past, couple weeks and stuff. My mom just brought that up. What happened to AJ? Where's AJ been?
I know the answer to that question. I asked that question myself 2 weeks ago, and I had to go take a look at Google to find some kind of answer. He's got a tweak in the lower right, and they didn't specifically say ankle or high ankle sprain. And when you get the high ankle sprains, those are horrible for a wrestler that is an AJ Styles more so than a guy that is just settled onto the ground. Without the high flying tactics, you don't have AJ Styles. You just have some. So that he's due to be back, and that's one of the thing I was going to ask you about since Mom brought it up. I think that's when we see the return to AJ Styles. But the question is, what AJ Styles is he going to be? I want heel AJ Styles. I don't want babyface AJ Styles. I want. This is what I want. I want him to go ahead and beat the hell out of Finn Balor, bring him back, and then grab a couple of the other guys and bring him back, and then bam, you have a faction and keeping the faction going. And I don't know, because the classic example is that we haven't seen Doc Gallows and Anderson. See, that goes with the 50 million. You cut those guys; they'll just go back to AEW or TNA or wherever, because they can always fit these guys. That's how good those two are. By the way, they can go anywhere and make what's going on there. That's why I like them so much.
Now, I could see.
By the way, that being said, I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt you, Z. I'm going to ask you, because you did it. How was training with Doc Gallows? Because you trained with Doc Gallows one day. I remember. I was sitting there watching it. Weren't you in the ring with Doc Gallows where they were doing a what do you call it? A training thing. Weren't you in the ring with them? I know you were. I think I remember specifically because I actually talked to Doc Gallows about, and I don't know if it was you necessarily, but he had the young guys in there. Doc Gallows, when he was at SOAR that one time. I don't know if you remember that but I think you did a training session with him. So obviously it stuck really good because you can't remember.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I took a bump too hard and got a concussion or something. Maybe that's why I don't remember.
Well, you only met him.
Yes, that's why.
But what I dug about him, he had some youngins in the it was a Halloween show. That's right. He was there with I forget the guy's name. The red face guy. His name starts with a Z. Anyway, but what I dug about him is how he took even few moments with whoever he was doing it with, and he made it personal, which was and especially to if it wasn't you, it was somebody. I know it was AJ. I know AJ was there, and he took that time straight with AJ and told him how to do certain things. And when you hear it from a guy who does it all the time, I think it develops a little bit more. That's why listen, AJ the Future. Future now, because he doesn't do AJ the Future anymore. But I'm going to tell you right now, that's an outstanding young wrestler. And the way that he took the time with every wrestler, including the youngsters, because it's very easy to ignore the youngsters, but he didn't let that happen. He just went there and kept pounding on certain things that was there. So, but yes, I want to see it. I want to see Finn did it. I want to see AJ. I want to see AJ beat the holy hell out of him, and then they become buddies again. That's what I want to see. Maybe it's because old school, Bullet Club kind of thing. This is kind of.
I'll tell you what I want to see.
What do you want to see?
Faction war at war games. Now, wait. This could go a couple ways. Now, I have a couple different factions in mind. What is that? The Latino Wrestling Organization versus the Judgment Day versus the OC versus a new faction that WWE brings out. And it happens at War Games. And then you have the OC win. You have Finn betray the Judgment Day and join the OC.
God, it's beautiful. That's music to my ears, because that's right along. And I'll just even take it a step further. Keep the Judgment Day, and then add another element to it, and a good element, and keep that. And then when you ship Dom back down to NXT, you can have another element with him at NXT. To where he could get the proper training, and then bring him back up to the main roster if he can make it. Because the $50 million, Rey Mysterio is going to be cut. He's been rumored to retire, and Dom is going to be a part of that as well. So that's the reason why. Listen, I'll even put it out there. Can't stand Dom as a wrestler, but as an entertainer, he just makes me laugh. Him and the Eddie Guerrero, I wish Eddie was my dad thing. I'm falling out of my chair. I'm just laughing my ass off. It's the best. I mean, because why not? I mean, if you can't wrestle, you got to get reaction from people. And why not go to Hall of Fame Eddie Guerrero? I wish he was my daddy. I mean, listen, that's almost textbook. And it worked. And there's just something about it. Every time that guy steps out there, he gets the right reaction, and it puts asses in seats. He can't wrestle a lick, but he gets the reaction. And that's the biggest rule in wrestling, right, Z? It don't matter the reaction. You just want the reaction.
Well, here's one thing that I got to say. This is kind of storytelling, because you were wanting to send a couple guys from the Judgment Day out and put some new guys in. You're not going to like this. You're not, but maybe the way I put it, maybe it might change your mind just a tad.
Okay.
So before you send Dominic down, you have him compete in the War Games, blah, blah, blah. He goes down to NXT. But before this, we have shipped down Omos. He's your NXT champion. He drops the title, Dominic goes for the title, and Omos joins the Judgment Day better than what he was before.
Well, if he could get in, and I'll just say it for lack of better words, if he can get into ring shape, and that don't always mean how physically he is. Listen, that guy's a friggin' monster, and he's fit. But when I say ring shape, ring knowledge, ring general, at least know what you're doing and don't make it look bad. Dominic Mysterio at WrestleMania made so many noticeable mistakes, even with his Hall of Fame daddy trying to help him, and he still made those little mistakes that guys that are in the business don't make. And that's, I listen, you can say whatever you want about Dominic Mysterio and what he does, and what he's doing is what he can, which is bring the heat. But sooner or later, you and I both know it's going to come down to wrestling and technique, and that's where he's going to get it. He's going to get it in NXT. He's not going to get it on the main roster, because the main rosters are worried about putting on shows than training a guy how to wrestle.
Right, and that's why maybe you send a couple other veterans down that don't have a great place in the main roster right now. You send them down with Omos and Dominic Mysterio.
Who else? Who else are you thinking? You got anybody in mind?
I hate to say this, But maybe you bring Dolph Ziggler down again and Robert Roode down again. But okay,
I miss Robert Roode.
Yeah, and he in NXT, what was it, 2017, 2016? He was the talk of NXT. There was almost no one else to talk about. It was if you were talking about NXT, first name that pops in your mind, Bobby Roode. Which now Robert Roode, but I would want to see Bobby. Now I want to see Dolph and Robert separate though. I get
Separate.
why.
You don't like them together?
No, I'm saying that for the sake of giving Omos and Dominic Mysterio someone to train with, because these guys are veterans, and eventually, if you work with enough veterans and they cooperate with you and they give you time, you're gonna be good.
Yes, gonna be great. Did you get the opportunity to see Bobby Roode as the it factor over in TNA? I don't know if you had the opportunity to see that. Go back into some of the archives. I'm telling you right now, some of the best matches that you'll ever see is him as the TNA champion, as he's known as the it factor, Bobby Roode. He's great. The matches are great. The turn against James Storm was magnificent. Everything about what Roode got him to the WWE. Here's what happened with Robert Roode. He got to the WWE. That's all he ever wanted to do. And he got there. And then we haven't seen a real Bobby Roode since he went there. The Glorious thing was magnificent. I loved it. I loved it. I loved everything. And how the WWE missed on completing that and taking the step forward. That's when Triple H should have been able to step in and say, no, this is what we got to do with a Robert Roode so we can continue bringing this. Because Robert Roode as a heel is the best that you're going to get from him. You don't want him babyface.
Now, here, real quick, I'm going to do something real quick, and then I'll give you my take on what they should do with Robert Roode. They should bring back the Glorious. Hang on, let me give a little bit of an impression of that real quick. Let me see if I can still do this. What was this, like 5 years ago? Glorious!
I love the song. I love the song. Too. I mean, it captured the fans, and his intro was spot on every time. And then we got that for about 6 months. And then this guy just disappeared in the roster, which really kind of hurt, because you want a guy for intercontinental or U.S. title holder. This guy would have been gold. Gold. But I will say, the new intercontinental champion, I'm not a fan of your guy. I know you like your guy, but I'm not a Gunther fan at all.
Oh, now, I'm not either.
Oh, I thought you liked some Gunther.
No, I just like to pronounce people's
name.
Just
okay,
because why not? It's the ring general Gunther.
Now I would see, and now I've been watching wrestling for years. I mean, years, 4 times your age at least. I've been watching for over 40 years. I never realized, and think that this run Gunther has, I never realized it was the longest reign ever, because I go back to the Honky Tonk Man. That guy held the title for years, so I'm missing on how that happens, but maybe I'm just mistaken because I'm old and I'm lucky to remember my own name half the time. But that being said, evidently he's having a big run, but he's having a big run with not a lot of matches, and that bothers me.
He's kind of like the Brock Lesnar.
Well, yeah, but has he really gained that much notoriety in reality to demand that kind of thing?
No, he really hasn't, and that's why I think he should soon drop the title. But going back to Bobby Robert Roode, one thing I always remember about his entrances, his coat, jacket, whatever you want to call it. Now, I remember there was one scene, it was like 2019, whenever he was in a rivalry with Drake Maverick. He was in a rivalry with Drake Maverick. Now, okay, there was one funny segment out of it. Whenever Drake may or may not have took a little bit of a number one on his coat, which was that.
Yeah,
that was funny.
yeah.
That was funny. I remember that.
That was hilarious. It reminded me where they came from. TNA. That's an old TNA thing, baby, right there. That's how you draw heat. And listen, Drake Maverick, as much as I'm not necessarily a great big fan, I love his character per se as the heel. But they need that. And I call it. They need the rodent heel, the rat, the weasel, the ferret. He reminds me of a rat ferret kind of guy. Just gets underneath your skin every time. I love that about him in TNA. I actually watched that reality show when he won the reality show to get the ticket to get into TNA, and I actually watched that, and I was never impressed. But when they got him in there and started doing that, that's amazing. Writing is a big portion of what we see, and it's got to be good, and it's got to fit too. I mean, you can have a lot of writing, but if it doesn't fit, it's a hard watch. It's just like any television program.
Right. And I think if they give Bobby Roode, they change his name back to Bobby Roode, just, because, maybe some older viewers are like, oh, okay, I wonder where this guy is. Is he still here? They hear Robert Roode brings more people to NXT, right? That's your main goal, is to bring more people to more shows, to sell more tickets, to get more money.
There's no question.
Oh, okay. I just got a notification on my phone.
Here we go.
If this is true, Jeff Hardy just retired.
Oh no, I saw that. And I briefly saw it. I think they brought him back to retire. So, and I think that was done. It was just a brief over, because I'm so over Jeff Hardy, because I don't care. I mean, there's guys on the roster who deserve a roster spot more so, and they take it more seriously than what he has, just within the last 5-6 years. They take it more seriously, and they're more deserving of the spot. So that's how I did that. Spot.
Yeah, that hurts though. I'm a big Jeff Hardy fan. I really am. If this was 2019 WWE, my number one guy wouldn't be Matt Riddle. It would be Jeff Hardy. But I mean, when he made that switch over to AEW, I like AEW kind of. It's okay. I'm a big Jeff Hardy guy though, and that it's crazy, because you think about it. A little over 20 years ago, you had Jeff Hardy taking a spear off of a ladder. There was didn't he jump off? Didn't he swan ton off of a billboard or something?
The ladder with Edge is the most memorable move I've ever seen in a wrestling ring. Because
and I've only watched 3
plays. Of Mick Foley getting his ass thrown off of Hell in Cell, that was the most amazing thing I've ever seen in a wrestling ring. Him and also what's his name, Shane McMahon, off the top of that him sitting there watching the craziness, and so normally I can't even watch that kind of stuff anymore, because I turn my head, so I can't see it. But those are the 3 most memorable moves I remember in the WWE. One of them is with Jeff Hardy. He's etched in history. There's no question. And and you had to love what he brought, but sometimes the act gets old, and that's where I see with Jeff Hardy. I think he takes up a spot of somebody who can put it and bring it back. So let's see here. Where is it? I think I can find it, because it was right up on the Facebook thing. So here's what it is. And it said Jeff Hardy says the smartest thing for him to do is to retire. And it actually is, because if you look at what Jeff Hardy is and where he is in his life, I hate to say it, All the bad habits that you pick up in a wrestling ring, he got all of them and then some. So you had that going. You had that going for him. But at the same time, it is what it is. And listen, Jeff Hardy, once he gets all clean and everything, they should put him in the Hall of Fame just for that move. Just for that move. I mean, even forget. And by the way, I'm a version 1 Hardy fan. Matt, I love his brother.
Oh yes,
I love his brother. So that being said, Jeff Hardy, I got a little old. Maybe it's because I wanted to see more for some other people. I guess is more what I look at for it. So, but that having been said, of course, that's the end of the show. You can catch it 12 to 3, and now season 9 to noon during the NFL season. That being said, the whole AEW thing, I think Cody Rhodes getting out of AEW, I think actually hurt him, because let's be honest, he brought it. He's the one that brought it. He's the one that maintained it. Yes, maybe he got a little old, and yes, maybe Tony Khan, Jacksonville Jaguar son of the owner. They're put it together, and maybe the relationship got rocky, but AEW's got more problems now, and I'm going to ask you about them, because if someone, like if you came up and said, Sonny, let's watch some wrestling, what would you watch? What I would watch right now is old school CM Punk. Love me some CM Punk when he was with Heyman. With what he was doing and everything. They bring him to AEW, and frankly, I'll be honest, it's been a dud. It's been a stuff. It's not been worth even necessarily watching. And that was even when I went to this 2 years ago. I think I saw you out there. When they were right there, Garland, and I went and caught it. And yeah, when his music hit, it was a roar. But after that, it just kind of. Yeah, I did too. I was like, listen. Punk's got the best intro music outside of. I'll get it. It's a Rob Zombie. It's a Rob Zombie one, and I can't remember the guy's name. It's the Chicken Run song. I love it, and it's the remix. It's the remix, not the regular song. Outside of that, I'm digging his intro music, and when it hits, and people react when it reacts. But it's what it is, Z. He turned middle aged in wrestling is what happened. I think we're not seeing anything that he ever brought to wrestling years before. Now, granted, you always want to build up on the name, but the problem is I don't think he's built up on the name. I think he's stepped away from it. He's middle aged. And as far as wrestling is concerned, and or storylines that he would be brought into.
Well, one thing I could see, maybe give him a lower class title. Don't give him the top title. He's not that tier
I fully agree
anymore.
With you.
Or just a thought. Maybe put him in the tag division.
Well, he's been known not to get along with too many people. So that it would have to be somebody that he can get along with. I mean, he throws Colt Cabana's, him and his relationship out the window. Of course, I don't know the backstory, don't need to know, but he's thrown that to the side, and he was supposedly his best friend. If you watch and I have watched the documentaries on CM Punk, which, by the way, are very well made. I love them, and I watch them just when I just want some noise in the background. I'll put on that CM Punk documentary they got over on the network and enjoy the time watching it, because I like CM Punk. Listen, CM Punk and the documentary that they made with what's his name, Chris Jericho. Those are the two best documentaries that they got running in reality, in my opinion, anyway, up on the network. I love those documentaries, so we're going to be going out of here in about 7 minutes. I want to see, you're a wrestling guy. I'm a wrestling guy. Love wrestling. I want to know what your opinion on the way out is on one of the most underrated guys I think is out there. What do you think about Kurt Angle? Where do you think he fits in the wrestling as far as a new school guy? Because I can respect how someone wouldn't new school appreciate what a Kurt Angle brought to the thing. So I guess as new school, what do you think about a Kurt Angle?
Well, back in the day, he was great. He's not a wrestler anymore, but maybe you put him at commentary.
So this is why I ask you the question, because I think he would. I think he'd bring a fresh. Now, that having been said, the color commentator that they got for Raw carries the damn show. I'm sorry. Whoever they got, I don't even know his name because I don't even want to know his name. But man, is Corey Graves carrying a weight that I just don't think that he's, should be carrying. Corey Graves is great. And I love Wade Barrett. Bad News Barrett was one of my favorites when he was doing the Bad News Barrett thing. Just cracked me up. I just thought it was funny. So,
but then he got hurt.
And then but now he's in the commentary sitting right now. It basically took over for, what's that cat's name? That did it, and then he went to
Michael
college. No, Mikey, he's with Michael Cole, the other dude. He just was in WrestleMania. He just wrestled Miz at WrestleMania and the second night, or maybe it was the first night. I forget what night it was.
Shane or Snoop?
No, he was a commentator. Pat McAfee.
Oh!
I love me some Pat McAfee, but if you don't have McAfee, I want Wade Barrett there. And frankly, I think I'd rather have Wade Barrett there in reality. But man, they need to do something on Raw with the regular commentary dude, because he's got awful. They need to bring up that guy from NXT. He's good.
Yeah, I agree. I mean,
I don't even know his name, but he's good.
Me neither. I don't really know commentary names. I don't even really watch.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I feel no respect at all. I should just share a room with a mop. A commentary guy.
Well, yeah, I do know a commentary guy. WWE, I'm not really paying attention to a whole lot of it. Like, I get the gist of most of the bigger storylines right now. They could for sure. They could change things up. Maybe they bring a guy that's injured to commentary until he gets healed. Now, that's just from a wrestling perspective. When you are a wrestler, you know what you're talking about, and you're gonna give your best opinion on the matches that are at hand, and you're gonna know what you're talking about.
What about Braun Baker? How are they going to bring up Braun? How are they going to bring him up? He's set for him to go. He dropped the title in NXT. How are they going to bring him back? How are they going to bring Braun Baker? Braun Breaker, the son of the Steiner brother, Rick Steiner's son. How they bring him up? How they introduce him? What do they do? What do you think they should do with Braun Breaker, bringing him up to the main roster?
Don't put him in the world title scene yet.
I agree.
Put him against Gunther and let Gunther drop the title.
That would be a good drop. How long does that take, though? Do they do it immediately? How long do they do it? How long do they do it? Take it to SummerSlam, slam it out on SummerSlam?
They're gonna go at it at SummerSlam. Well, from in my eyes, they should bring them into the main roster soon, before SummerSlam. Let them build up a rivalry with Gunther. But I don't know. Is Gunther getting in a rivalry with Xavier Woods?
I don't know, but it's a dumb. They're supposed to wrestle on Monday, I guess. And by the way, all right, a little common sense. I think you'll get what I'm talking about. Okay, if who'd Gunther it's Sheamus. Okay, Sheamus and who was the other one that they did the Drew no
Drew McIntyre.
was it McIntyre?
Yeah.
Those two. If those two can't beat Gunther, how do you expect somebody like a Braun Baker to go and beat this guy? Now, that's got to be a storyline because physically and everything else, that guy's not beating Sheamus. That guy's not beating Drew McIntyre. I love me some Braun Baker because another one of my favorite wrestlers is Big Papa Pump. You got the hookup. Got some mad love for him. But I don't see how you have him do that if you can't have Sheamus or Drew McIntyre beat him. I don't know. I don't know how you do it. But Xavier Woods is going to do it. It's just a bad match. It's a squash match is what it is, right?
Right. And, I think what they could do is they could have, I know you're talking about Xavier Woods there, have Xavier Woods get in a little bit of offense, let him lose, at least give him a shot at the title, because I think that's what he needs is something fresh. But you bring in Braun Breaker, right? He beats Sheamus, right? Close match. He beats Drew McIntyre, even closer match. Mm-hmm. This is how you start a feud. He calls out Gunther, and he says, I've beaten the guy that you've beaten. I've beaten this guy that you've beaten. Now it's my turn to go and beat you for your IC title, and he goes and wins.
I think that could be. I love it because I find it when we're talking and I'm watching it, I'm thinking about everything that we're talking about half the time when I'm watching the show. I'm going, hey, this would be kind of good. And I start thinking of ideas on how I would love to see what happens and things. And I know I love me some Exodus Prime. I think you know who he is. I love me some Exodus Prime, personally. But he doesn't like the fact that old Sonny Clark wants to be a writer and wants to see what he wants to see, and I should keep my mouth shut. But Exodus Prime, I love you, but that's what wrestling is. Just in case you didn't know. And on that point, that's going to do it for us here on the Couch Potato Sports Show. As we lasted 3 hours, that was too easy, by the way, just to let you know. Had almost a damn hour with Tom McManus. I mean, geez, you can't get much better than that. So that's going to do it for us on the show. We'll catch you next week. We'll be past the draft. By the way, we're going to do a Wednesday show. It's going to be at 8 o'clock. We're going to be talking about the draft. You can join or not. Cuervo is going to be with us on that. We're going to talk about the draft. We're going to talk about what will end up happening, who's going to go where and who's going to go what and how all that is going on. But that's, we're going to do that on Wednesday, 8 o'clock. And then we'll be right back here Sunday at noonish, depending if we get a Cuervo or not, to talk about what happened in the draft. And we'll do all that when we come back up on the show on Wednesday and then on Sunday. On that being said, that's this show. If you're not there, you're crazy. We just have too much fun. And this now, Z, and this is not me. You are killing it here. So you're always welcome. You don't even have to ask to be on the show. You'll see the link and you just show up when you're ready to show up. You've earned it. And I'm glad that you have joined us. So that's going to do it. So for Z, you're welcome. For Z, for Tom McManus, who joined us today, I'm Sonny Clark, the hardest working man in sports radio. We're out of here, everybody. Take care. Bye.